Starting Mason Rudolph at quarterback again this week to give Will Levis more time to rehab his injured shoulder. And Colts running back Jonathan Taylor is practicing today.
It's time.
You know what time it is?
The game for Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show.
The biggest goal of our team,
especially in the first half,
we at Bama, we're trying to be the best. Always is to win a national championship.
Something cool to look back on.
We don't want to waste a failure.
You're inside the game.
John Mechie on the ground.
Appreciate your interest in the game.
On your home for Alabama sports.
And Alabama wins.
Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. And now, here's your award-winning host, Ryan Fowler.
And a good afternoon to you. Welcome into the game. I am not Ryan Fowler. Instead, I am Tide 100.9 brand manager and digital managing editor Wyatt Fulton. Ryan's a little bit under the weather today, so he hit me up earlier today and said, hey, can you fill in for me? I said, absolutely, Ryan. So I will be taking you home today from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m. right here in Tuscaloosa. We'll continue to take the scores. I know Ryan does his score prediction days on Tuesday and Wednesday, obviously today being Wednesday. We'll continue to take some scores for you right here on Tide 100.9. I'll get those scores to Ryan Fowler once we get off the air here. So if you want to get in your score prediction, you can do so by calling in 205-342-9904. Again, that phone number is 205-342-9904. That is the number for the program. If you got your scores in yesterday, that's all right. You can call in and we can hang out today. I've got plenty of time. I got 4 hours that I got to fill, and we'll do a ton of great content for you right here. So help me out. Help me, kind of keep this show rolling, because I do an hour every day from 11 to noon, right? And so when Ryan called me and said, hey, can you fill in for me, a little bit under the weather, I said, absolutely. And then I realized I'm about to have to do 4 times as long as I normally do. And I got all my content off my chest a couple hours ago from 11 to noon. So I got a little bit, I'm having to struggle to find some content a little bit. We'll have plenty of fun here. We'll hear some Kalen DeBoer audio. And if we do hit a lull in this show at any point, we'll probably go ahead and play Kane Womack's press conference from Monday ahead of the Missouri game this weekend. And we'll also play Nick Sheridan's press conference ahead of the Missouri game this weekend. Those press conferences happened on Monday, but they were previewing Alabama and Missouri. So we may take a peek and listen to those as well here. We've got some good content for you today. Like I said, we'll be talking with Aaron Torres at 2:15, Fox Sports national analyst. And we'll talk a little bit of football with Aaron Torres. Obviously, he's got Torres on Bama. He does a lot of stuff there covering the University of Alabama. But Aaron Torres also does a lot of content on the basketball side of things. We are 13 days away from Alabama basketball tipping off its season inside Coleman Coliseum against UNC Asheville. That is the University of North Carolina in Asheville, where my brother-in-law actually lives. So going to have some fun covering that game in 13 days, but we'll talk with Aaron Torres a little bit about Alabama basketball, a little bit about Alabama football, and really just kind of anything else that may be on Torres' mind there. We'll talk with Drew DeArmond at 3:30. Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone, ESPN up in Huntsville, Alabama. I love Drew. He always brings a lot of great content. I listen to his show. I don't listen to it live, obviously, because I'm doing a bunch of stuff here on Tide 100.9, but I do go back and I listen to his show on the on-demand, on the podcast side of things. And so excited to talk with Drew today. I'm sure we'll talk Alabama football, Alabama basketball. We'll talk all sorts of stuff with Drew DeArmond. And then Martin Houston, our very own Martin Houston, will join me at 4 p.m. And he'll join me for a couple of segments here as we'll continue talking about Alabama's loss to the Tennessee Volunteers, a 24-17 defeat in Knoxville, Tennessee, where Jalen Milroe looked a little uncharacteristic. Is he injured? Kalen DeBoer said no. Actually, Jaisha, real quick, pull up what Kalen DeBoer had to say on Jalen Milroe's injury, non-injury. Everybody's banged up at this point in the college football season. Not only is everybody banged up in college football, but you're probably twice as banged up if you play in the Southeastern Conference, which Alabama does. Jalen Milroe does. And so, obviously, he's probably as close to 100% as he can be at this point in the season going into week 9 here. However, he is not as 100% as he was going into fall camp. And so he's a little banged up. everybody's banged up. That's nothing new. So we'll see what Jalen Milroe, we'll hear from Kalen DeBoer tonight on Hey Coach. So if you guys are listening to the game with Wyatt Fulton filling in for Ryan Fowler, we'll go from 2 until 6 p.m. tonight. And then at 6 p.m., Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show will take over, and we'll hear from the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer. At 6:30, Chris Stewart will do some interviews with some other coaches around the University of Alabama from 6 until 6:30. And then at 6:30, Kalen DeBoer will join the program, joined by the freshman phenom himself, the 17-year-old superstar, Ryan Williams, will join Kalen DeBoer on the Hey Coach Show with Kalen DeBoer tonight. Be sure to tune into Tide100.9.com, Tide 100.9, the free app, and 1230 AM WTBC on the FM dial, just 100.9 on the FM dial. So we're going to have a ton of fun today. Once again, help me kind of get through this show, because, again, I normally do an hour, and I'm doing 4 hours right now. So it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm excited for it. I don't know. I always tell people, I don't know how Ryan does 4 straight hours every single day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. I don't know how Ryan does it, but he does an incredible job of it. And so hopefully we'll get Ryan back in the saddle tomorrow. He'll be able to bring you some great content, getting ready for Alabama and Missouri. Going back to what I said, though, about players being banged up, everybody's banged up at this point in the season, right? Nobody's 100%. We heard from the offensive line coach, Chris Kapilovic, at the University of Alabama a few weeks ago, actually. I think it was before the Georgia game that he mentioned this. He said, look, guys, a guy like Jaden Roberts is playing through some stuff that, really nobody else would be playing through. And so you've got the toughness, you've got the grit. Tyler Booker said on the next round on Monday that he's banged up. He's injured, maybe not injured, but injured is the wrong word. There's a difference between being hurt and being injured, right? Everybody's hurting. Everybody's hurt, but not everybody's injured. Hurt means, I got wrapped up weird, now my ankle hurts. Injured is somebody took my knee out while my foot was planted and something is torn. There's something structurally wrong with my body. And that's when you get put on an injury report, right? Keon Sabb with the broken foot, according to Greg McElroy on his show a little bit earlier this week, said Keon Sabb played most of that Tennessee game with a broken foot. That's an injury that goes on the injury report, right? But you get hit weird, or, you just fall to the ground and bang your head or something. Maybe not your head, because people take head injuries real seriously. But you fall to the ground, you land on your shoulder or something like that, and then all of a sudden your shoulder starts to hurt. Well, you're probably not injured. There's probably nothing structurally wrong with your shoulder. You just landed on it weird, right? Or somebody hit you. You've got 290-pound defensive linemen doing nothing but trying to take your head off for 60 minutes. Yeah, you're going to be hurting, especially if you're hit a little bit as much as Jalen Milroe was in that game against South Carolina and this game against Tennessee. He's probably hurting a little bit. Is he injured? Let's hear what the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer, had to say on Jalen Milroe potentially being injured.
Yeah, I think at this point in the year, I don't think there's many guys that play a lot of snaps who don't have something, and just working through it. But he's more than capable, and as he goes through the week, you're just ready to play on Saturday. So there's nothing that's going to be holding him back from going out there and being able to help us get a win. Confident of that.
From Kalen DeBoer's mouth to the ears of the Crimson Tide fan base, there's nothing that will keep him out there, or there's nothing right now that will keep him away from going out there and competing at 100%, as close to 100% as he can get at this point, playing in the Southeastern Conference. It's a tough conference, y'all. And especially in a season like this, where there's so many different variables, there's so many different teams that are overperforming to what we expected them to perform at in the preseason. There's so many teams that are performing at what we expected them to play at coming into the preseason, coming out of SEC Media Days there in Dallas, Texas in July. The SEC standings currently sit Texas A&M number 1, 6-1 overall, 4-1 in conference play. The LSU Tigers number 2, 6-1 overall, 3-0 in conference play. The Georgia Bulldogs 6-1 overall, 4-1 in conference play. Their only loss coming to the Alabama Crimson Tide. The Tennessee Volunteers 6-1 overall, 3-1 in conference play. Their only loss coming to on the road against the Arkansas Razorbacks. Missouri 6-1 overall. You've got 6 SEC teams currently sitting at 6-1. You've got another 2 sitting at 5-2. So this is a very, very tough conference, y'all. Missouri sitting 6-1 overall, 2-1 in conference play. Their only loss on the road to Texas A&M. Texas 6-1 overall, 2-1 in SEC play. Their only loss last weekend at home to the Georgia Bulldogs. And so we're going to see here what we've got here in the Southeastern Conference. It's a tough conference. Your top two teams are playing this weekend with Texas and LSU. Alabama's got a date in Baton Rouge a little bit later this season. But right now we're focused on the Missouri Tigers, who are currently one of those 6-1 teams, 2-1 in SEC play, as the Crimson Tide will take on the Missouri Bulldogs at 2:30 p.m. Central Time, right here inside Saban Field, or on Saban Field inside Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday, October 26th. Let's go ahead and head to break here, and when we come back on the other side of this break, we're going to talk with Aaron Torres, Fox Sports national analyst. We'll talk a little bit of Alabama football, kind of his thoughts on this Alabama team, maybe the direction this Alabama team is heading, and if Alabama can turn things around and still have a successful season in terms of the standards that Alabama fans have. And then, of course, we'll talk some college basketball with Aaron Torres as well, some Alabama basketball, as we are 13 days away from the start of the Crimson Tide basketball season. Next Monday as well, the Alabama Crimson Tide will head to Huntsville, Alabama for the Rocket City Classic against the Memphis Tigers. We'll have some coverage from that as well. You're listening to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. I'm Wyatt Fulton. I'm filling in for Ryan Fowler, and we'll get you rocking and rolling right here on your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Or visit mezwins.com. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
The Paint Spot, Philip Williams, locally owned and operated since 1971. Quality paint, expert advice. Bigger, medium projects. I recommend renting the airless paint sprayer, Northport, right off McFarland Boulevard, right past Highway 43. 15th Street in Tuscaloosa, close to the Hardin's Bakery. 1971. Philip Williams, locally owned and operated. The Paint Spot, you'll find the quality paint, the expert advice. If you're redoing a
205-799-9069. Expect quality exterior cleaning service for your home or business when you call Alabama Pro Wash.
New Life Art is pleased to announce Daniel A. Moore's newest creation, The Legend, a tribute to Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time. Celebrate his legendary 17 seasons and 6 national championships at the capstone with your own limited edition fine art commemorative print or canvas.
6541. Again, 800-951-6541 and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest or sweepstakes and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by or affiliated with this station or program.
Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Call Paul at 205-331-6823. Custom curbing for your home or business. Do away with those plastic individual stone borders. Go for that more permanent, decorative concrete border. No more grass growing between those individual stones. Cleaner to edge to maintain. They're willing to travel, not just here in Tuscaloosa, but also in our neighboring states as well over in Mississippi. Many colors and choices. They'll customize for that individual taste and house. Give them a call at 205-331-6823. You can also go to their Facebook account. Find their page. You can see exactly what the videos. They came out, did a free quote. Paul gave me an evaluation. Give them a call, 205-331-6823.
For Alabama basketball. Presented in part by BMW of Tuscaloosa and by Pearl River Resort in Choctaw, Mississippi. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky sunny. The high today 82. Clear tonight with the low at 56. Very warm tomorrow and Friday. Sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. Saturday partly to mostly sunny. The high 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The longest running sports show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Now joining the program, friend of Ryan Fowler. I met this guy out in Phoenix, Arizona, covering the Final Four between Alabama basketball and the UConn Huskies, and then eventually the national championship between the UConn Huskies, and the Purdue Boilermakers. He is the host of Fox Sports national radio show, recapping college football, recapping college basketball. Aaron Torres. Aaron, welcome into Tuscaloosa. How you doing today?
I'm well, Wyatt. Yeah, I was going to be offended when you said a friend of Ryan Fowler. I consider you a friend as well, man. You've done awesome work. You know, some may say you're kind of the secret behind Ryan's success. I'm not saying that I say that, but there's a lot of buzz out on those Tuscaloosa streets right now. And in all seriousness, I joked with you guys before I came on about, Ryan ducking out of the show this week, but I hope he is doing okay. In all seriousness, I know everybody listening knows, but, Ryan never ducks from the heat, and I'm sure that, he was probably as passionate about getting back on the air this week as any week in recent memory. And so I hope he's doing okay. Ryan, if you're listening, feel better, buddy.
Absolutely. We hope Ryan is back in the saddle sooner rather than later. He called me and said, hey, can I get you to fill in for me today? I said, hey, man, look, anything you need, I'm here for you. It's my job. It's my job to make sure everybody's able to run things as smoothly as possible.
I told you, you're the brains behind the operation. Everybody really kind of knows that.
I don't know about all of that now, Aaron, but I do appreciate the kind words.
Well, listen, I like I said, I'm not saying that you're the real reason for Ryan's success, but that is some, it's floating around on the message boards and the Reddit threads. That's all I'm saying.
Look, I get a lot of information from the message boards and the Reddit threads now, so.
I hope you stayed off the message boards Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. I'll tell you that much.
And they were not fun to scroll through and watch on Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. Let's go ahead and talk about this Alabama loss to Tennessee. A 24-17 loss for Alabama. Jalen Milroe did not look like himself. This offense did not look like itself, especially going back to the first half against Georgia. Aaron, after watching this team, the second half of Georgia, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and now Tennessee, was the first half against Georgia quote unquote flukish, or are there just some things that they're having to reevaluate with the struggles of this offense?
Well, I certainly think, they were able to jump out on Georgia. I'm not a scheme expert, but it seemed like they caught him off guard, especially with the Jalen Milroe runs. What I would say, Wyatt, and I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about this. Listen, on my show, I've talked a lot about, the culture and the process and some of the little things and that stuff. But on the field, what I don't think I've really heard people talk about is that different games have created different problems. You come out of the Vanderbilt game, the defense is terrible. Kane Womack's got to go, blah, 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 this and that. Well, I don't want to say the defense wasn't a problem on Saturday because you gave up 24 second half points, but it was really the offense. South Carolina, the defense for the most part did their job. The O-line couldn't block, the South Carolina defenders. So I think to me, that's really one. It's why the Missouri game is so important. You're back at home. We know you have a bye next week, and then that LSU game in theory could loom large if you got to win this week, if you get a win this weekend. But to me, I think that's the thing that's a little bit surprising to me is you reference Wyatt, Jalen Milroe struggles, but every week it feels like it's a slightly different problem. And it's almost like, you plug one hole and figure that out and then a new one pops up. And that would be my concern more than anything if I was a Bama fan.
Absolutely. And, I listened to another show and, he's not affiliated with Fox, so I won't really plug him right now, but he basically says it's like plugging a dam with 13 holes and you only got 10 fingers, right? And so it seems like that's what Alabama's trying to do right now. They've got, like you said, they've got multiple different issues. The defense is a problem. All right, well, the defense gets fixed. Now the offensive line's a problem. All right, well, that got somewhat remedied against Tennessee, and then Jalen Milroe struggles, and the passing game can't really get going. And so it just seems like there's so many different issues popping up with this Alabama team on a week-to-week basis. If you're Kalen DeBoer, how would you go about trying to get ahead of this, trying to figure out, okay, this is what we think is maybe the issue this coming week, and how do we start to remedy that before we get into a game on Saturday and you're down 14-0?
Yeah, well, all I'll say, Wyatt, is for all the criticism of Kalen DeBoer right now and that staff, they have the better answers as to not only how stuff gets fixed, but what can you take advantage of in what specific game. And I think, that's the part of just being in the SEC, right? I mean, you just look at the last four games, Georgia's pretty good across the board, but, Vandy has a great running quarterback that makes plays on the run. Well, that's a little bit different than Nico, who, he made a few plays with his feet, but he's more of a pocket passer. Tennessee's entire defense is good. South Carolina's defensive front is good. And so that's what's kind of making it interesting. And listen, there's a bigger picture about the SEC right now. and that there's really no off nights where, you know, you looked at South Carolina and Vandy in the offseason and those felt like two, you know, slam dunk wins, whatever, blah, 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 this and that. But I bring it up because, you know, Vandy obviously is tougher than we thought, and South Carolina clearly has NFL talent, you know, especially on the defensive front. And so, again, I'll leave the scheme stuff up to Kalen DeBoer. I would say more than anything, and this I know is a conversation you guys have had all week, you got to get back to the basics from the fundamentals, from being accountable. You know, I think it was CJ Dupree. I saw that quote about, you know, guys are showing up late, guys are doing this, guys are doing that. That's just not acceptable. That's just not acceptable. I'll blame Kalen DeBoer, but I'll say part of that's on the leadership of the team too. You know, Jalen Milroe knows what the standard is. Jahad Campbell knows what the standard is. Tyler Booker knows what the standard is. And those were the guys. And I remember, I want to say it was maybe Jahad Campbell. I can't remember. But one of the star players in the offseason said, Coach Saban is gone, but our legacy is carrying on the standard that he set. Well, right now they're not carrying on that standard, and it has nothing to do with wins and losses. It has everything to do with penalties, with behavior on the field, with the little things that are correctable and fixable and need to be corrected if you want to continue to have success, because obviously right now this thing's going in the wrong direction in a hurry.
You mentioned CJ Dupree's comments, and that's going to be my next question for you. Is there any major concern level with the fact that it's week 9? We're going into week 9.
Let me cut you off. There's absolutely a concern, because what you know, and it's funny, and I did cut you off, Wyatt. I can't say I didn't mean to cut you off, because I clearly did, but that to me is the biggest concern. It's not about talent. Now, I understand there's other talented teams in this league. There are teams that have other strengths and weaknesses that you might not have. But if you watch this team, and I put it out there, and by the way, again, this isn't all on Kalen DeBoer, but I put it out there on Saturday. I talked about it on my show. I talked about Nick Saban talking about this team a little bit at the Birmingham Touchdown Club. Listen, that is the big concern, is that if you're just watching and you've watched Bama for years and you know how they carry themselves, how they handle themselves, this is not the same team. And, you know, I'll tell you, I've had a couple, you know, clips go pretty viral on various platforms. But again, it's the little stuff. It's, by the way, you know, members of the coaching staff walking into Neyland Stadium with cigars sticking out of their mouths. I'm sorry. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. And if that is how the coaching staff is conducting themselves, and I know it isn't everybody, it might have only been one person, I only saw one picture, but that has a trickle-down effect to the players. The Kendrick Law penalty at the worst possible time. You know, I've heard all of Kalen DeBoer's explanations for going for it. The only thing that I can come up with is it was 4th and 7 until Kendrick Law shoved that guy. And I know that it should have been called both ways and they should have been offsetting, but it wasn't. And you have to carry yourself differently. And so whether it's the cigars, whether it's the penalty, whether it's the CJ Dupree comments, they're all the same thing, which is it goes back to the process. It goes back to the standard. It goes back to you have to do the little things right and the big things take care of themselves. But if you don't do them right, then things will not take care of themselves. And so Bama fans, listen, every SEC fan base has a negative, there's negative connotations of this is too crazy. That's too crazy. Your fans are too crazy. No. Alabama fans, the ones that are being critical of the way the team conducts themselves, I think they're spot on. And I think this is something that not only needs to get fixed, but it does need to get fixed. And what I would say is, listen, there are going to be certain games where you go in and the other team has more talent than you. And that's in any sport, any level. But how you conduct yourself, how you carry yourself, that is something that you control. And that is something Alabama has to get back in control going forward.
Do you think it's fixable in this short window that they've got? They've got Missouri this weekend, a bye week, and then they get into another tough game, a probable top 10 matchup against LSU down in Baton Rouge. Do you think it's fixable if you're Alabama?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely fixable because the talent's there. And it's, again, the little things. Now, I would add, and I'm not a parent, but I think anybody who has been in any type of leadership position is when you start to let little stuff go. If what CJ Dupree said is accurate and guys are showing up late, what I will say is it's hard to rein guys back in. By the way, it's not just Alabama. Listen, Georgia's the belle of the ball right now. Well, we know that Georgia's had their off the field issues as well. And I think that's probably how it started with Kirby Smart is, one guy gets arrested for this and, okay, we'll make him run and nobody will have to know about it. And then it's a snowball effect. So the talent is there for them to do it. There's not a team in this conference that's more talented than them. The issue is, will they do it? And I think that to me is, and not only will they do it, but can the coaching staff rein them back in, and can they get them to cut out all the nonsense? So yes, the talent is there for them to do it. The talent is there for them to win every game left on the schedule. If you win every game left on the schedule, you will be in that 12-team playoff. But it's got to start, and it's got to start now. It's got to start this weekend with Missouri, and it's got to start in a hurry because obviously we're running out of time here.
You mentioned the penalty on Kendrick Law, and I'm not going to talk about Kendrick Law. I'm going to talk about officiating here in college football as a whole. There were some bummy calls in that game for both Alabama and Tennessee, but then you've also got the big debacle that happened in Austin, Texas with the pass interference call, the fans throwing stuff on the field, stopping play, and then the refs overturning the call. Where is officiating in college football right now? And how do you fix this? Because it just looks abysmal at all levels.
Well, it's a great question, Wyatt. And let me say this. I just talked about, Kalen DeBoer needing to hold his players to a higher standard. How about this? I think Greg Sankey's got to hold his referees to a higher standard. And I understand the idea that you don't publicly want to be going after your referees. You want harmony. But I was on air during that Texas-Georgia game. I was hosting here on Fox Sports Radio. I don't know if you guys were still in post-game coverage or not, but, we were on air when that happened. And Jason Martin and I were like, we thought, both of us, I was like, those referees have to be suspended. And the NCAA has to come down and figure out a way to make sure that this never happens again, because at the end of the day, and I know, and I'm just talking about the Texas thing specifically, the SEC can say whatever they want. The refs can say whatever they want. We know that rule got changed, that call got changed because there was debris thrown on the field, because there was a delay in the game, and transparently, there was probably several replays on the big board that made the referees realize that they made the wrong call. The problem is, and Kirby Smart was 100% accurate when he said, listen, I know nobody likes to give Kirby Smart credit for everything, and he's a whiner, and oh my God, he always tries to play the us against the world. He was dead right, is that you have now set the precedent that fans should be encouraged to throw things on the field when they don't like a call in hopes that the game gets delayed and that we can overturn that call. So I could go on, but to me, where that, again, I criticize Kalen DeBoer and his staff for not reining in the players. Greg Sankey, I thought handled that whole thing really poorly. And again, I was on air till 2 a.m. Eastern, 1 Central on Saturday night, and we were there for the statement from the SEC where the SEC said, the referees huddle after every, whatever the statement was, they huddle after every play and they have the right to overturn it, this and that. And Jason Martin and I just kind of shook our heads and said, this felt like a moment. And by the way, Greg Sankey didn't have to do it 10 minutes after the game. I mean, you can go home, you can think about it, you can chew on, what's the appropriate punishment. But to come out and to just basically say that this was standard operating procedure, that referees change calls all the time, it just felt like absolute nonsense. And it frankly not only felt like nonsense, it felt like nonsense that nobody believes, because let's be honest, nobody freaking believes it,
Absolutely. And it's certainly going to be interesting to see. Do you believe that there should be a national, do you believe officials should be full-time employees and held accountable for what they do?
I mean, I'd like to see it. Yeah. I mean, we got the money to do it. And I'll go back to something I've said for years, and, and I've said this, and it feels like other media members are picking up on this. I don't understand why referees don't have to meet with the media. If the media wants to meet with them, listen, you could criticize Jalen Milroe for this or Ryan Williams for that or Caden Proctor for this. Alabama's players had to go to the podium and answer for why they could not win that football game on Saturday. Kalen DeBoer had to go to the podium and answer why he went for it on 4th and 22. And I don't understand why referees are not held to the same standard. We can send an 18-year-old to the podium and he can explain why he ran the wrong route or he dropped the big pass or he didn't pick up the block. But we can't hold a 50-year-old man to the same standard of, hey, and by the way, Wyatt, I know there's a 99% chance that he would just say what the SEC statement said of, we review every play and we huddle up after this and da-da-da-da. But so let's get it out of his mouth. And by the way, maybe there is a great explanation for why they made the decision that they did outside the obvious. So let them say it. Let's hear it. And listen, I know that whatever, I'm going on and on, but the point I'm trying to make is, yes, I think that there should be a higher standard for which we hold referees. And I do think if there is a controversial play, now thankfully, by the way, that did not impact the game, but if there is a controversial play that people want answers to a question to, I think they should have to answer no different than Kalen DeBoer had to answer why he went for it on 4th and 22. So that's my take there.
Let's move off the negatives, talking about Alabama, talking about the officials in college football. And let's talk about something a lot of people are excited here in Tuscaloosa. That is Alabama basketball. The Crimson Tide opened their season November 4th at home against UNC Asheville. Kind of what's your thoughts on this Alabama basketball team and where do you see their ceiling this season?
Well, their ceiling is Wyatt and Torres hanging out at the Final Four again. That's the ceiling. And hopefully hanging out for 2 more days this time, as opposed to you bouncing out after the game on Saturday. But no, I mean, listen, what's exciting about college basketball being so close is, we don't have to talk in hypotheticals anymore. Ryan and I know you feel the same way. I just haven't talked to you about it, but Ryan and I have been excited about this team since it came together in April, May, and June. But now we get to see it against some other competition. And I think that team is really talented. I think it has, cutting down SEC championship nets, Elite Eight nets, and national championship nets on the final day of the season in San Antonio. They have everything you need. They have depth at every position. They have what I believe to be one of the 2 best coaches in college basketball, right alongside my alma mater, Dan Hurley. And the cool part is, like I said, we get to figure it out. Now, they have questions like everybody else. They've got, I've said this with Ryan many times, but they've got lifestyles of the rich and famous questions of they might have too much talent, which is a good thing to have, and how do you distribute minutes and all that. But no, man, I'm so excited to watch this team. And let me, I know it's about basketball. I'm still excited for football because I still think that you can right a lot of wrongs if you take care of business this weekend. So I'm still excited about football, but I am definitely excited about basketball too. And to your point, I can't believe how close we are to actually tipping off the start of this season.
I like to play devil's advocate here a little bit, Aaron. I do it a lot on my show from 11 to noon every day. What's the floor for this Alabama basketball team? And, let's say, some things happen that don't necessarily work in Alabama's favor. What do you think the floor is for this team?
Well, the floor is a good floor to have relative to Alabama's history, and that's I don't see the scenario where they're not at least a tournament team. And I remember the year that they lost in San Diego. I hate to say it, but it was the night that Javon Quinterly got hurt. And I remember tweeting something about, wow, a little bit of a disappointing end to the season. And I had somebody from Alabama reach out to me and say, you understand that relative to what we've done, this is actually a very successful season. And so that to me is the floor. And I think you bring up a very important point, Wyatt, is this ain't the old days of SEC basketball. I mean, I think the number is 7, 8 teams in the preseason top 25. Yeah. Everybody's got NIL money. Everybody's got players. And I think the days of going 17-1, 16-2 in the SEC, I don't think those are happening anytime in the near future. Not with the way this league is constructed. You have great coaches. I mean, you just look at Ole Miss is in. Think about that. Ole Miss is in the top 25 going into the season. Chris Beard has coached in a Final Four in a national championship game. You go on and on down the list. We don't need to go through everybody, but the point I'm trying to make is, Oklahoma was picked to finish 15th or 16th. Porter Moser's made it a Final Four. So I just bring it up because the talent across the board is really good. If you don't show up to play every single night in this league, you can get beat. And so I think it's a great question by you, and it applies to all 16 teams in this league. It's not just Alabama. But if you show up and you're not ready to go on any given night, you're going to get beat in this league in basketball.
2 more questions for you, Aaron. Do you have a breakout candidate for Alabama basketball this season? We know what Mark Sears is, preseason SEC Player of the Year. We know what Grant Nelson is. He's going to be playing a position he's a lot more comfortable in for the duration of this season, being able to play the stretch 4 as opposed to having to play the 5 last year. But do you have a breakout candidate, a guy that wasn't on this roster last year, which apparently is a lot of them? I didn't know if y'all knew this. There's a lot of players on this roster that weren't on this roster last year. Do you have a breakout candidate, one of the newcomers, maybe a freshman or something like that, that is going to become a household name by February?
It's tough because the team is going to be so deep. And so, even Mark Sears, I think he is one of the most talented players in college basketball, but I don't know if he's going to play enough, get enough shots to be a first-team All-American, to be SEC Player of the Year, because there's so much talent on the roster. Listen, I think pretty much anybody, man. Obviously the big one is Big Cliff, and I think Big Cliff is the guy, and he's not really a breakout guy, but he just brings something that team did not have last year, which was obviously rim protecting, shot blocking, et cetera. So Big Cliff is one. I think Aiden Holloway has more than he showed at Auburn. By the way, apparently Aiden Holloway does too, because I don't know if you remember when he committed, but he said something about, it's nice to be with a coaching staff that actually believes in me. So, Aiden Holloway thinks he's got another level to get to. I kind of agree with him. And then I am obviously excited to watch the 2, I know there's several freshmen, but obviously Aiden Sherrill and Darian Reed, I think, are both going to be very good as well.
Last question for you. Are you wanting the Alabama-UConn rematch as much as we are here in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah. I mean, since we're not playing in the regular season, it would come in March and hopefully deep in the tournament. I'd love the Alabama rematch. As a matter of fact, I was going to tell Ryan this if he was there, but he isn't. Tide 100.9 is my UConn basketball good luck charm, because there was a kid who committed to UConn last week while I was on the show with Ryan. And then there's actually another kid committing later today who is projected to end up at UConn. So Tide 100.9 is kind of my good luck charm. But yeah, I would take one. I don't know if that would make me the least popular person in Tuscaloosa if Alabama ends up playing UConn again. But other than that, I'd be excited to watch that game. It'd be a great game.
Aaron, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for being flexible with Ryan being out of the lineup today. Take as much time as you need and plug everything that you're up to. I know it's a lot, and you're doing a lot of great stuff.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, no, just the Aaron Torres podcast. That runs, basically every day, 4 or 5 times a week. Covering college sports. We've talked a lot about Bama the last couple shows. It's the biggest story, in my opinion, in college football right now. So make sure you're following the Aaron Torres podcast. If you want to subscribe to YouTube, we're closing in on 45,000 subscribers there. And then, my social media is at Aaron_Torres on Twitter. And we do have our Torres on Bama page. It's run by a Bama student who helps me keep up to date on all things Bama and all the news cycles. So if you are on Twitter, Aaron_Torres and Torres on Bama.
Aaron, thank you so much for joining me, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Appreciate roll Tide. RTR, roll Torres, roll. Thank you.
Roll Torres, roll. Thank you so much, Aaron, for joining us here. We're going to go to break here. When we come back, we'll start taking some phone calls, and we'll have Martin Houston joining us at 3 p.m. We'll shuffle some things around a bit. Martin will help me break down Alabama and Tennessee, and then do a little bit of previewing of Alabama and Missouri at 3 p.m. At 3:30, we'll talk with Drew DeArmond. But in the next segment, your phone calls right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Call Paul at 205-331-6823. Custom curbing for your home or business. Do away with those plastic individual stone borders. Go for that more permanent decorative concrete border. No more grass growing between those individual stones. Cleaner to etch to maintain. They're willing to travel, not just here in Tuscaloosa, but also in our neighboring states as well over in Mississippi. Many colors and choices. They'll customize for that individual taste and house. Give them a call at 205-331-6823. You could also go to their Facebook account. Find their page. You can see exactly what the videos. They came out, did a free quote. Paul gave me an evaluation. Give them a call, 205-331-6823.
And she'll love it.
I'm Tom Osmond, your jeweler at Fincher and Osmond Jewelers. Not so easy to find on McFarland, between Edgar's and Local Roots.
The Pharmacy at Midtown with TJ Thomas, 205-752-0627. PharmacyMidtown.com. Don't forget about the retail side of the Pharmacy at Midtown. It's an independent-owned pharmacy specializing in walk-in prescriptions, medicine on time packaging, which days repair and the future repairs. No overtime charges on weekends and holidays. No hassle guarantee. Adams Heating and Cooling, 205-872-0045. DanielMooreArt.com. Daniel Moore Art celebrates those special moments of Alabama football history like 4th and 31, Jalen Milroe connected with Isaiah Bond, or the legacy continues with all the great memories of Alabama Crimson Tide football. You can celebrate Coach Saban with a Nick Saban print, the limited edition canvas. You could also find many of the great mini prints. Celebrate that special Alabama fan in your life.
So you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
New Life Art is pleased to announce Daniel A. Moore's newest creation, The Legend, a tribute to Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time. Celebrate his legendary 17 seasons and 6 national championships at the capstone with your own limited edition fine art commemorative print or canvas.
New album Rise and Fall available now. Scotty McCreery Live.
Dos Amigos, Highway 69 in the new Publix Shopping Center. 11 a.m. opening, 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday closing at 9, Sunday through Thursday. Some great Mexican cuisine, the great fajitas, the great desserts, the great lunch specials. You'll find it at Dos Amigos in the Publix Shopping Center on Highway 69. Takeout orders.
800-426-1886. 800-426-1886. That's 800-426-1886.
Blue Spring Living Water is located in Bluntsville, Alabama, Blount County, about an hour north of Birmingham. Blue Spring Living Water is harvested and bottled from a centuries-old natural spring on a private family farm. Blue Spring is an all-natural water source that flows just under 1 million gallons a day. They have partnered with Waterway of Alabama, and they've been in the water delivery business for over 30 years. To have Blue Spring Living Water delivered right to your home, right to your front door every month. New customers get their 5 jugs for $50, and the empties are exchanged every month for new ones. I know we have it at the Fowler household. We drink more water because of BlueSpringLivingWater.com. You can sign up at 205-602-3426. Talk to someone directly. Blue Spring Living Water can also be found. Mark Smart
knows pros. Valid in-store only. More terms and restrictions apply. Visit Lowe's.com/terms or Pro Desk for details.
The Game with Ryan Fowler. Powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota. On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
If you're just tuning into the program, I am not Ryan Fowler. I am Tide 100.9 brand manager Wyatt Fulton. Ryan's a little bit under the weather, so he called me up and asked if I could fill in. Told him I would do so. We're back. Excuse me. I am so sorry about that. Joining me now on the program, he's going to hang out with us till about 3:15. Our 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. show host, a member of the 1992 National Championship team, Martin Houston. Martin, how you doing today?
Doing well, man. Glad to be in with you on the game.
Appreciate you joining me, man. Let's talk a little bit about Alabama, Tennessee. We don't have a ton of time right here, but we'll really dive into a lot of stuff here at the top of the hour. Alabama and Tennessee. What were your thoughts on the loss there, Martin? Alabama's 24-17 loss.
Well, disappointing, first and foremost, I guess, if I had to give a one-word answer. disappointing. Unfortunately, still seeing some things that bother me. And one of the biggest things I see is just the passion and fire. But I think this passion and fire has been building. Wyatt, I said this 10 years ago after we had proven that Nick Saban was going to be great, win championships, and we had won several. It may not be 10 years ago, but I guess it's pretty close to 10 years ago. We had won 2 or 3, and I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when this team feel like they don't have anything to play for. And unfortunately, Wyatt, or fortunately for us, it never happened under Saban. I thought it was going to happen last year, and it didn't. And they just still always had, even if it was a backdoor way in. I just wonder if this team understands. They talk about Bama standard. What they mean is Bama winning. Bama standard is far greater than the W. When I played here, it was about representing not just whether you won, but representing that crimson jersey. And that went with you on the field, in the classroom, when you went home on the weekend with your family and all of that. And when you bring in a bunch of guys and tell them, hey, you come here, it's your pathway to the NFL, and you can win championships. Well, what happens if one of those goes away? And I think it's more Saban guys, and people don't want to hear this. The problem is the Saban guys, not the DeBoer guys.
You bring up an interesting point because the players that that sound like we've kind of maybe not necessarily had an issue with, but some of the guys who have had on the field outbursts, right? Kendrick Law, Malachi Moore, guys who were here for a couple of years under Saban. But you know the guys who aren't having the issues, Martin? It's C.J. Dupree, Parker Brailsford, Jeremy Bernard, and I know Jalen Milroe is another one of those guys. I'm not saying that it's the Saban guys that are the main problem. I'm not saying, Saban's players are the issue, but it is still interesting to see that some of these newer guys, some of the guys who didn't necessarily not stick around, but some of the guys who weren't necessarily a part of the process for as long as Coach Saban was here, they don't seem to be the ones that are, having the outbursts, having these types of situations where appear concerning to a lot of Alabama fans.
Let me ask you this. I listened to you talk to Aaron, and you asked him, hey, can this be fixed? Yeah, it can be fixed because I don't think it happened until we lost. I don't think the detail thing was an issue the first 4 or 5 games of the season. I think everybody was bought in, at least on the surface. Remember, Saban had to get the guys to buy in, and I said this a little bit yesterday with Ryan, but it was in a different time frame, so I'll repeat it. But those guys, Saban couldn't get 6 and 7 guys to buy in to his way of winning, right?
Right.
Well, these guys think they know how to win, right? And so when the new coach comes in, they think they know how to win, and they do know how to win, but they've won a certain way. Well, as long as the coach and things are going their way, Wyatt, they appear to be all bought in, right?
Right.
But the moment adversity happens, did some of these guys want their own way? And do they, because of the NIL and the transfer portal, have this coaching staff kind of by the gonads and holding them hostage in some ways to the way they want to do things? And because tell me where you've seen, if you trace his history, where have you seen DeBoer have an issue with discipline? Everybody talking about he's just not a disciplined coach. Everywhere he's played, his players have played. Everywhere he's coached, his players have played discipline. You make
a great point.
I mean, where has he? So did he come here? And here's the question. And this is possible. This is very possible, Wyatt. Maybe he doesn't. There's some coaches who can flat out coach and develop guys.
Right.
And don't know how to deal with the thoroughbred. They don't know how to handle it. And if they don't, and I'm not saying he doesn't because he put 3 guys in the league last year at wide receiver in the first couple rounds. So he's coached high level. He put a quarterback in the league in the first round. But from a from an NIL new recruiting guy, only want to get to the NFL. What type of guys have he had that he's developed? Blue-collar guys who are trying to do something for their team. And I think we have kind of a culture clash going on in some ways right now. And I think he'll win out.
Yeah.
But it's different than it was, 15, 16 years ago because they were losing. So once they lost and got embarrassed, it was easy to say, I told you it wouldn't work. With these guys, they may be wanting to go back to what worked. And this coach can't take them there because that's not his style. I don't know that. I'm just giving another perspective.
I like what you're saying, Martin. I like what you're saying about this stuff. Can you hang out with me for a little bit? We got to head to the top of the hour break.
Yeah. Yep. I got you. All
righty. We're going to go ahead and head to this top of the break here. Martin Houston will hang out with us again until about 3:15, and then we'll take your phone calls right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
On Facebook, Andrew Knipper Agency. Once again, you can reach us at 205-722-9201. Allstate, are you in good hands?
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Call Paul at 205-331-6823. Custom curbing for your home or business. Do away with those plastic individual stone borders. Go for that more permanent, decorative concrete border. No more grass growing between those individual stones. Cleaner to etch to maintain. They're willing to travel, not just here in Tuscaloosa, but also in our neighboring states as well over in Mississippi. Many colors and choices. They'll customize for that individual taste and house. Give them a call at 205-331-6823. You could also go to their Facebook account. Find their page. You can see exactly what the videos. They came out, did a free quote. Paul gave me an evaluation. Give them a call, 205-331-6823.
Tuscaloosa is the place to be. Visit us now to save big and discover why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
The Pharmacy at Midtown with TJ Thomas, 205-752-0627. PharmacyMidtown.com. Don't forget about the retail side of the Pharmacy at Midtown. It's an independent-owned pharmacy specializing in walk-in prescriptions, medicine-on-time packaging, which
Friday, November the 15th at 2 p.m. as we broadcast live and pick a winner to go watch the Tide take on Oklahoma. Compliments of Pepsi and the Deli Press. Roll Tide.
DanielMooreArt.com. Daniel Moore Art celebrates those special moments of Alabama football history like 4th and 31, Jalen Milroe connected with Isaiah Bond, or the legacy continues with all the great memories of Alabama Crimson Tide football. You can celebrate Coach Saban with a Nick Saban print, the limited edition canvas. You could also find many of the great mini prints. Celebrate that special Alabama fan in your life. Daniel
for Alabama basketball. Presented in part by BMW of Tuscaloosa and by Pearl River Resort in Choctaw, Mississippi. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky sunny. The high today 82. Clear tonight with the low at 56. Very warm tomorrow and Friday. Sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. Saturday partly to mostly sunny. The high 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3320 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Dan Byer.
Carolina Panthers quarterback Andy Dalton was in a car accident with his family yesterday, and head coach Dave Canales says that the results of that accident will force the team to make a change at quarterback. Bryce Young to get the nod in Week 8 against Denver.
Scary moment for sure. Everyone was okay. Unfortunately, in the accident, he did sprain his thumb. So Bryce will be playing this week, and we'll be evaluating Andy day to day going into this weekend to see if we can get him up as the 2 on game day.
Another quarterback change in the NFL. Browns are going to start Jameis Winston at quarterback in Week 8 against the Ravens. Obviously, Deshaun Watson is done for the year because of his ruptured Achilles. The Kansas City Chiefs acquired wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins from the Tennessee Titans. Titans are getting a conditional 5th-round pick that could be a 4th from Kansas City. The Athletic reported the Chiefs tried to acquire Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp, but the sides could not come to terms on a deal. Titans also sending linebacker Ernest Jones IV to Seattle for linebacker Jerome Baker and a 4th-round pick.
Any way you want it, the way you need it.
Big thank you to Aaron Torres for helping us make it through the first quarter of this show. We are 1 hour down. We are 3 hours away from the end of the program. And at the end of the program, the Hey Coach Show with Kalen DeBoer will be live at 6 p.m. Well, the Hey Coach Show will be live at 6 p.m. The Kalen DeBoer Show will be live at 6:30. He will be joined by freshman standout wide receiver Ryan Williams. Right now, though, we're talking to a member of the 1992 National Championship team and our very own Martin Houston, the show host from 6 to 7 a.m. with the Martin Houston Show. Martin, you still with me? You hanging out all right pretty good today?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to still be with you.
Absolutely. And so we were talking about this Alabama loss to Tennessee. We were talking about some of the things, some of the issues that some of these players have had, the emotional outbursts on the field. And I asked Aaron Torres, is this fixable? Is it likely to be fixed? Obviously, the attention to detail, right? The emotional outbursts, that's all off the field stuff. That's not anything with scheme. That's not anything with, play calling. That is just emotional maturity and being mentally ready to go for these types of games. Obviously, it is fixable, but do you think Alabama can fix it on the short window that they've got with Missouri this weekend and then LSU in 2 weeks?
Well, to me, I asked the question, what needs to be fixed, okay? We saw from 1 week to the next, we saw from one half to the next, we saw two different teams, right? We literally saw a team and get ready for Georgia and absolutely come out and dominate. So you see what the ceiling is. You ask, what's the ceiling for this team? Well, they can dominate the one of the best teams in college football. And then you see this coach take their foot off the gas, right? The second half didn't bother me in the sense of Georgia was going for it on fourth down and they were just chunking it up wide, and that just happened, right? But the mentality changed, okay? That's the last time that I saw this team know who they were or who they could be based on the talent. Okay, here's what this coaching staff has, Wyatt. They have an offense that's different than what they have done. This guy that they have at quarterback is different from the guy they had at Washington, different than the guy he had at Fresno, and different than the guy, which was the same guy at Washington in Indiana, right? But different than the guy from Sioux Falls. So, yes, I think there's a certain style offense that the board prefers to run. But he did what was best for the team, and it was evident in the Georgia game and before that they were going to run the offense through RPOs, read option, move the pocket, throw the deep ball, etc. You have a defensive coach who prefers a 4-2 base with some moving and stuff like that, but not a lot of blitzing. Right?
Right.
But against Georgia, they blitzed what some may think may be the first quarterback taken and he will definitely be probably the first pure pocket passer taken. And they made him look like he didn't even know what he was doing.
They made him uncomfortable.
They made him uncomfortable. It made but that's not the defensive coordinator style, but that's what the players and the makeup of his team does best is blitz and move around and all that. So since that moment, Wyatt, when they have ran Jalen Hurts, ran the offense through that, Alabama's looked good. When they have blitzed, going into the Tennessee game, 50% of the time when we blitz, we cause the quarterback to hurry.
Yeah.
I don't care what you like to do, Coach Womack. I don't care what your preference is. You inherited a team, and they play your scheme best when you add blitzes to it. So blitz. I'm sorry, Coach Sheridan and Coach DeBoer. I know you can create a 5,000-yard passer, but you can't with Jalen Milroe. You can create a 3,000 and a 1,200 guy with 40 touchdowns at the end of the year. Well, do that. How do you explain that we were leading the majority of the game? We were running the ball, but we threw it 27 times in the first half. On track to throw it 54 times, and end up throwing it 45. How do you explain that with Jalen Milroe?
You can't. I mean, you take a guy like Jalen Milroe and his skill set. His skill set isn't to pass it 45 times. That's not a knock on Jalen Milroe. It's just not what he does.
Right.
He's a dynamic runner. He's a dynamic runner. Use that. You used it against Georgia. You had the deception to clear out some defenders against Georgia in that first half. And it just seems like Alabama's gone completely away from what was successful against Georgia in the first half, from halftime of that game to end of the game on Saturday.
And it looks like offensively they're moving farther and farther away.
It looks like they're making it more difficult.
Right. At least with at least on defense, we have seen him like he did. He started the game with a 4-3. Three linebackers against South Carolina. At least we see, and then we saw him blitz Nico, and it works, right? So keep doing it. But listen, what would people be saying? This is what people don't get. I hate the term. I hear people say, well, Jalen's not a quarterback. Jalen's not a quarterback. Jalen is a quarterback. There's different ways to describe quarterbacks today. There is the pocket passer quarterback, and that's not Jalen Milroe. There's a dual threat quarterback, and that's not Carson Beck. What they did Saturday to Jalen Milroe would be as bad as Georgia coming out and running Carson Beck 25 to 30 times. That's how bad the play calling was Saturday for Jalen Milroe. And if you're going to call it that many times, throw it that way, maybe you should give the other guy a chance.
Maybe so. I mean, if Kalen DeBoer is legitimately a lot more comfortable throwing the ball 45 times a game than he is, quarterback runs, using the running back as an extra blocker, maybe it is time for a quarterback switch. And I'm not saying it's not because of Jalen's play, but if you just cannot figure out how to use Jalen, maybe Ty is the better option in this offense.
Let me ask you this. What's the worst part of our offense?
It's the run game.
Pass blocking.
Oh, pass blocking too. Pass blocking. Yeah. My bad. We got so many issues. There's so many issues, Martin. We're not sure what it is.
But is the run game bad when you run it through the quarterback? No. The traditional run game. See, that's what we have to learn to say. We have to stop saying quarterback is bad because he's not a pocket passer.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson isn't a they're not trying to make Lamar Jackson Tom Brady. If they do, it knocks off his ceiling.
Right.
It brings him from the 10th floor to the 2nd floor. Even though he would still be good, he wouldn't be elite. He's an MVP because they use his skill set. Well, why would you this is what I go. You have a quarterback whose skill set is to run. He's a mobile guy. And here's the part, okay, think about our offensive scheme against Georgia. Jalen wasn't running the ball just because they were calling quarterback runs. Some of those were read options. And what are you taught to take away on the read option? The dive guy, right?
Right.
So they take away the running back. Why anybody would take away the running back and force Jalen to run, I don't know, except for the fact that when you play against an option team, what we didn't do against Vanderbilt is we never took the dive away, right? They always had success on the dive, and they just kept coming back to it, and then they play off of it. Well, teams have said, we're going to take the dive away. So that's why Jalen is running it so much. This coaching staff, to get other running backs in, what they need to do, Wyatt, is change. Instead of running the dive option, they could run the option where the running back runs the outside portion of it and Jalen runs the dive piece. And they would get the running back more involved. But what we've tried to do coming out of the Georgia game was get the running backs more involved, okay? And then we tried to use the offense to increase time of possession. And then the third game we did, and all we've done is take the rhythm of this offensive team and throw it out of whack. Jalen is a better passer when he's running the ball. He is not a straight-up back-up passer. The running back, when was the last time we saw an explosive play from the running back?
I'd say probably Jam Miller's touchdown against Vanderbilt.
Right? And so But before that, we were seeing even more explosive plays. Why? Because Jalen Milroe opens up the running lanes for the other guys. Figure out how to give them the ball more on the read option and make the defense take away Jalen from the run, but leave them. That's number one. When do we have big offensive pass plays? When the defense is up in the box or that DB is worried about run support for Jalen. We've taken all of that away, and now we're going to try to be a straight drop-back pass team. Wyatt, we can't run the ball. This offensive line cannot blow people off the ball in a straight run game. This offensive line cannot drop set and be great pass blockers. What we've done since Georgia, let this sink in, Wyatt, since Georgia is we've said, okay, O-line, I want you to power drive block, drive guys off the ball, and I want you to be a drop-back pass protection team. The two things that they do worse. The one thing that they do great is they move and they can get angles. And when you pull them and counters, we haven't done any of that the last few weeks.
You make a lot of great points, Martin. We got to get to break here. Let everybody know where they can find you and your content, Martin. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, man. And hey, listen, I went live on my live stream. You can join the Martin Houston Show right here on the radio dial every day from 6 to 7, and then the live stream for the live show, as well as other content that I threw out. Go to the Martin Houston Show on Facebook, the best place to find it. And from there, you can follow all the content. And check out martinhouston.org if you have any questions to find out exactly what's going on.
Martin, thank you so much for joining me, man. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Wyatt. Glad to be on, man. Have a good one. Roll Tide.
Right back at you, Martin. We're going to go to break here. When we come back, Josh in Georgia, I see you. Marty in Arkansas, I see you. Pat in Tuscaloosa, I see you. We'll get to some of you guys here before we talk to Drew DeArmond at 3:30 right here on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
To question his place in the delicate neighborhood ecosystem. And it's all because you could save money switching at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Alabama Crimson Tide lives right here.
Down to the pylon. Touchdown, Alabama.
On Tide 100.9.
Welcome back into the game. I am not Ryan Fowler. I am Wyatt Fulton, brand manager here of Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Filling in for Ryan Fowler today. Let's go ahead, jump on the phone lines here, and let's talk with one of Ryan's loyal callers. Good friend of the program, good friend of Tide 100.9. Talked with him a couple of times before. Josh in Georgia. Josh, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. And I've enjoyed sitting here holding and just listening to everything going on, and appreciate the dedication you guys put out there every day.
Well, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Sorry, I was grabbing a drink of tea. I got my tea tumbler sitting right there while I'm sitting here listening.
It's all good.
Of course, score prediction days yesterday and today, and I tried to get in yesterday, but yesterday phone lines were jammed up. And I'm probably safe in saying there's probably still some people salty about Saturday.
Oh, most definitely.
It wasn't a great thing in Knoxville that happened, but I told Ryan, I don't know if it was you or Jackson, I can't remember who answered the phone on Monday, but I was proud of my defense for showing up in that ball game, and they got to Nico. They showed him, hey, this is just a kid. Because if you talk to Tennessee fans, they brag on this kid like he is their Superman, he is their Iron Man, like he's almost practically unbeatable. But he didn't show me much that impressed me Saturday. But we've turned the page now. We're looking at Missouri. This is homecoming weekend. We got the big parade, and I heard they're doing a drone show Friday night. So that should be interesting.
They are. They're going to do a little bit of a drone show on Friday. You can tell I'm not used to doing radio quite as long as Ryan does.
I just read it, and it sounds like it's going to be cool, and I wish there could be a way I could be in Tuscaloosa this weekend, but I've already got previous commitments for Sunday that keep me in the other direction, and but it's all right. But I look for this game seriously. I know we said South Carolina was a get-right game, but with our backs against the ropes, We're leaned up against the ropes. We're back against the wall kind of right now at 2 losses, with both losses being in conference. I thought it was appropriate that you was playing Eye of the Tiger when y'all went to commercial break. And I'm reminded from Rocky III when he loses the title, and I think Apollo, he's like, hey, come on, dude, you got to get this right. And he just motivates him, and he keeps saying, you got it, Eye of the Tiger, Eye of the Tiger. And so I thought that song was pretty appropriate whenever you broke from commercial just a little bit ago, because we do got to get this thing right. We got to show them, hey, we're Alabama. We're still the most decorated school in college football history. And I jumped on Facebook this morning because I had a Gator fan talking about how Georgia and Florida's going to play. I think it's next week. But anyway, he's already starting to jabber a little bit. So I'm like, dude, you're going to get yourself in trouble. But anyway, I commented because he said something about Gators put the dogs in the pan. Well, I commented and I said the Tide keeps them locked in the pan. And somebody come in. Listen, hang on. This is the good part. So somebody jumped on there and said, dude, and he said, don't let me call it Vandy, Tennessee. And, oh, yeah, don't forget about South Carolina. I was like, excuse me. I said 9 out of the last 10. And I rattled off the year. And, I mean, I went down through there from 08 to just last month. And I labeled them 9 out of the last 10. I said the Tide keeps the dogs locked in the pound.
They do.
So,
Georgia has only lost 3 games since the conclusion of the 2020 college football season. You know who?
All three of them.
You know who the
Alabama.
Are? The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yep.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Two of them being SEC championship games.
Absolutely. And so Alabama seems to have their number a little bit. Other teams may have Alabama's number a little bit, depending on how you look at it. Because if you look at it, Tennessee's won 2 out of the last 3. But if you keep going down the line of history, Bama's won 16 out of the last 18.
Sure.
So
hey, everybody's due one, okay? But and I get it in 2022, whenever they beat us in Knoxville, they want to tear down the goalpost because they ain't did it in 17 years.
Yep.
But then the fact that they want to just repeat it this past Saturday, it's like, okay, you did that 2 years ago. That's boring. That's, you're just repeating. Come find something else to come up with after you beat Alabama. I've got a shirt, and it says something like, we don't wear flashy uniforms. We don't do blackout games. It's gimmicky uniforms. We don't do blackout games. We don't tear down goalposts. We don't rush the field after big victories. We don't retire jersey numbers. We just work 365 days a year to dominate and win championships, because we are Alabama.
I love it, Josh. You got to score.
Score it real quick. Yeah, like I said, get right game, 38-17, Alabama.
38-17. What was the tiebreaker yesterday? Were you able to get that?
I wasn't able to get it. I didn't catch it. So I honestly didn't catch it. I'm sorry.
Nah, it's all good.
38-17, and I feel good in my gut about that.
I like it, Josh. Thank you so much for calling in, man.
Yeah, buddy. Roll Tide.
Right back at you. We're going to go to break here. When we come back on the other side, we're going to talk with Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone up in Huntsville, Alabama, the Rocket City. We'll talk with Drew about Alabama, Tennessee, and we'll preview a little bit of Alabama and Missouri as well. You're listening to The Game with Ryan Fowler. Substituted in Wyatt Fulton for the day on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Don Wallace CPA, 527 Main Avenue in downtown Northport. Small business and personal income taxes, payroll, sales tax needs. They can also help you with nonprofit or church accounting or auditing. In business since 1999, they work for you, not the IRS. When you take on taxes, you got to have someone on your side. It's Don Wallace CPA.
Tonight, live from Walk On Sports Bistro for Hillcrest Huddle. That's Brent Jones each week as the Hillcrest Patriots march towards the playoffs.
Rumsey Environmental, a one-stop shop serving West Alabama for all of your waste removal needs. If you're in the construction business, take a little bit of stress out of your life. The construction debris removal containers customized to fit your job site, the portable toilet service, the storage containers to protect your valuables. It's Rumsey Environmental for that complete waste removal service when you have
coverages and even payment options. Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get get what you need. Quote today in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com.
Alabama Credit Union with the official countdown to Alabama Crimson Tide football right here on the game, AlabamaCU.com. The mobile app saves a lot of time. The mobile deposits, checking, savings, mortgage, home equity loan, financing a vehicle, the great competitive rates. Alabama Credit Union.
Fresh when you order. So whatever the size of your appetite,
there's always something delicious waiting for you here at Taco Casa.
Taco Casa, under the biggest cactus in town.
You're inside the game on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And the devil put aside for me, for me, for me.
To the game with Wyatt Fulton, not Ryan Fowler. I am filling in for Ryan Fowler, who's a little bit under the weather right now. Hopefully he'll be back off the injury report and back in the lineup tomorrow on Thursday for the game with Ryan Fowler from 2 to 6 p.m. Speaking of injury reports, the Alabama Crimson Tide will release their injury report at 7 p.m., around 7 p.m., between 7 and 7:30, as it's supposed to be released by 7 p.m. Sometimes the SEC is a little bit behind on getting that in. But regardless, we will get an injury report about the Alabama Crimson Tide tonight around 7 to 7:30 p.m. I imagine we'll see a couple of players on that injury report. Keon Sabb will probably be listed as out with his lower body injury, according to Kalen DeBoer, the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. We're working to get Drew DeArmond on right now. There may be a couple of other players on that injury report, though, with Kalen DeBoer mentioning that the rest of the secondary is dealing with some injuries. So we'll see what's come. We'll see what that injury report looks like here in about 3.5, maybe 4 hours here as we get ready for Alabama and Missouri on Saturday. Joining the program now, Drew DeArmond, 97 The Zone up in Huntsville, Alabama. Drew, how you doing this afternoon?
Good, Wyatt. How are you, man?
Doing all right, man. Thank you so much for being willing to jump on and help me out here a little bit. I know we don't want to talk about it here, but let's talk a little bit about Alabama and Tennessee. The 24-17 loss in Knoxville, Tennessee. Kind of what were your thoughts on that game, Drew?
Well, I mean, I just thought, missed opportunities. I thought Alabama played exceptional football, especially in the first half defensively, and forced 3 turnovers and had a chance to, have a substantial lead at halftime, potentially, anywhere from 17 to 21 to nothing, and would have had a grip on the football game, would have had game control, and really probably would have taken Tennessee out of what they wanted to do with a young quarterback, which was run the football. They did a good job the first half of containing Dylan Sampson, which I thought was a key to the game. But with it only being 7-0 at halftime, got to give Josh Heupel and his staff credit. They did a good job of continuing to run the ball with Sampson, kind of wore Alabama down. I thought Alabama still competed well defensively. They certainly still gave the offense, 4 opportunities. Well, one of them up 17 to 14, pardon me. And then, of course, then they were down 21 to 17 a couple of times. And then the last possession, even down 24-17, had a chance to, take the ball down and either score to take the lead or, of course, tie the football game. Didn't do anything offensively with the football for the majority of the fourth quarter. And really, honestly, I thought the majority of the issues revolved around the quarterback. I feel like the offensive line played well enough. I know some were complaining about the running game, but they were even running the football pretty well at the start of the third quarter and at times in the fourth. But it comes down to this, Kalen DeBoer is the guy that's quarterback-centric. The quarterback has to execute for them to be good offensively, and they just could not get anything going in the passing game. They left way too many plays on the field. It was just not the best game, probably the worst game of Jalen Milroe's career, who's had some great moments as QB1 for Alabama in the last couple of years. But this last 3-game stretch has just been a continuous decline, and they've got to get it turned around quickly, or this season, is going to be lost, and they're not going to be in contention for an SEC title or a playoff berth.
You mentioned Jalen Milroe. His performance, 25 of 45, 239 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Something just looked off about him in that game. I was sitting in the press box, and something just didn't look quite right. He was missing a lot of throws that he normally makes. He went 0 for 5 on passes, 20-plus yards downfield, which is an area that he's been better than anybody else in the country in, is those passes, 20-plus yards downfield. Went 0 for 5 on Saturday. In your opinion, I know we've heard from Kalen DeBoer and what he said on the injured front for Jalen Milroe, but in your opinion, does he look banged up to you, and kind of what's your thoughts on Jalen Milroe?
Well, I mean, everybody's banged up around this time. I mean, I don't think he's banged up to the point where he can't play football and where he can't use his legs and play the football and play the game the way he needs to play it to be successful. Certainly, he's out there. I don't think this is a situation like Keon Sabb, who gutted it out and played with a broken foot and has now had surgery and very likely out for the year. This is not that type of situation. Jalen Milroe is QB1. He has been compensated very well and become the face of Alabama's program the last 2 years, and he needs to continue to play like it. The season was not over after he, rallied the team against Georgia and had a great moment. And then he played really well enough to win against Vandy, but he also had a couple of crucial errors. He had a pick six early, and then he had a situation where if he uses his mobility, and which is what he should have done when he was scrambling and run for 20, 30 yards and move the stick to get a first down, then instead of throwing the football past the line of scrimmage, then Alabama still has a chance to get over the hump against Vandy. And I felt like in that game, if they could have ever gotten the lead, they could have won the football game. But again, I think he's healthy enough. No question about that. I've checked today. I mean, I will see what it's on the injury report. He may very well be listed on it. We'll see. But I still think he's healthy enough to play in the game. That's certainly what I'm hearing. And he needs to play well for this team to win. I mean, he needs to get out of this funk. And I think the easiest way to do that is to use his legs and get himself going. And I know teams are scheming. They've done a good job because Kalen DeBoer and his staff, had Jalen be a big part of the running game this year. He's got the most carries on the team, and a lot of those are called runs, student body right, student body left. But a lot of staffs are now taking that away. Well, the one thing you can still do is the improvisational stuff. He needs to be a 1 to 2 read guy and then take off, because he's just got so much God-given ability as an outstanding athlete that's the way he can help this offense stay on schedule and yet hopefully still keep himself in rhythm and get himself going. Whenever I've watched Jalen Milroe play, whenever he's made plays with his legs, it's helped out his ability to pass the football. I don't think that's changed at all, and I just think he needs to get going. This offense needs to get going so they can still have a chance to have a really good year under Kalen DeBoer. And the first step is to do that against a good Missouri team that's coming into Bryant-Denny Stadium ranked in 6-1, and certainly Alabama at 5-2 is in must-win mode right now, Wyatt.
You mentioned teams are scheming. You mentioned teams are starting to take away the designed quarterback runs. With the traditional run game, with Jam Miller and Justice Haynes struggling, how does Alabama go about getting the run game going? Because the run game takes the pressure off Jalen Milroe as a passer, takes the pressure off the wide receivers. Anybody who's watched football for any period of time knows if you run the football, it brings more guys into the box, which makes it easier to throw the football. If you're Alabama, right, teams are trying to take away Jalen Milroe's running ability. The traditional run game is struggling. How do you get it going? How do you make it easier on Jalen Milroe?
Well, I just think you have to execute. I mean, if you look at the passing game against Tennessee, there are receivers running wide open. I mean, Nick Sheridan's taking some heat, but I think the design and the plan was good. The execution was pathetic. And so you have to execute. And a lot of teams are daring Jalen Milroe to throw the ball short and intermediate and throw it accurately. Well, he needs to start doing so. He did it against Georgia when they scripted that beginning, and Alabama looked great. And, I think a similar plan like that is what you have to do. I think you need to get him in rhythm early. I think you need to have a varied running game. I think you need to use Milroe's legs. I think you need to use the wide receivers, guys like Kendrick Law and Jeremy Bernard, who can be effective runners in this game on the edges. And then I think that would also help the running back help Jam Miller, help Justice Haynes. And that's another thing, too. I know they haven't really talked about it a lot, but I thought Jam was finally starting to get into a rhythm in the fourth quarter. He had just ripped off an 11-yard run, and you were there. He hobbled off and did not return.
Yep.
And we just saw Justice Haynes the rest of the game. So I'll be interested to see what Jam Miller is listed on the injury report, and they certainly need him. They need all hands on deck. We haven't seen Richard Young since he got injured against Wisconsin. But, this is the Jam Miller, Justice Haynes running attack. But they need all three of those guys, plus use the wide receivers. And I didn't mention Ryan Williams, but they can use him in the running game as well. You just got to, get a little creative, probably a little more creative. But really, you just got to execute. It comes down to blocking and tackling and, and throwing and catching. Jalen Milroe has proven that he can play football at Alabama and play at a high level. And he's just got to get back to doing that. I mean, this is one of those things where I watched this happen in 2009 when, Greg McElroy started struggling a little bit in the middle of the season. That's why against South Carolina at home, Alabama basically went to the Wildcat to let Mark Ingram just salt the game away. They were struggling at QB. Greg was turning the ball over, so they went to their running game. Well, but Greg snapped out of it, and I think the same thing needs to happen with Milroe. He's just got to get himself going. He's got to put in the work. He's capable of doing it, and hopefully he can begin by doing it at 2:30 on Saturday against Missouri and just get back to playing better football like he was in the first 3 to 4 games of the season.
Defensively for Alabama, they held Tennessee scoreless for the third straight first quarter. Tennessee scored 24 second-half points. But if you go back and watch that game, as I'm sure you have, Drew, there was 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. Halfway through the third quarter, Tennessee still had not scored on any points. And so this Alabama defense had a better day. Obviously, it's never good when you give up 24 points in the second half of a football game. But what were some of the positive signs that you saw from the Alabama defense on Saturday against Tennessee?
Well, I thought they were better against the run the majority of the game. I thought they did a good job staying in their gaps. I thought they did a good job tackling. I thought they were more physical. I thought, a big thing for the defensive struggles late, too, though, was, the secondary got so banged up. We all know about Sapp. God bless the kid for trying to play through that, but he was not healthy. Then Devontae Smith has just had a star-crossed career with injuries. He gets banged up early. Then you see Red Morgan go out. So, heck, man, all of a sudden, you've got King Mack out there. He hasn't played a lot. Bray Hubbard, who, by the way, Bray will probably start this week, and I thought he did an outstanding job considering how many snaps he had to play. And so you're having to put a lot of guys out there that have not played a ton of snaps. And so I thought they battled. You saw more Jalen Mbakwe. He certainly got an interception. But this is going to be an opportunity. The transfer portal robs you of a lot of depth. So you have to play a lot of young guys. Well, Alabama's tried to do that this year, and they're going to do it again on Saturday. And that secondary is going to be tested because you got Luther Burden III, Theo Wees. You've got, Hunky Cooper. You've got those guys that are just they've got some really good receivers on that other side at Missouri. That's kind of the strength of their offense. But interestingly, Nate Noel will be out, their leading rusher. And that even if Brady Cook plays, he's probably banged up as well. So both sides have injuries. But I did think the defense took a step forward. They did force the 3 turnovers. If they can win the turnover battle Saturday, I think Alabama can win this game. And that's what they got to do is offensively. Unfortunately, they've had multiple turnovers in the last 3 games, starting in Nashville at Vanderbilt. They've got to start taking better care of the ball. If they do, they'll score points and they'll win the game on Saturday. And that's all they need to focus on. I've heard a lot of people saying, run the table, be 10-2. You can still get in the college football playoffs. You need to worry about beating Missouri first and foremost, then getting healthy during the bye week. And if you can do that, you've got a humongous test over in Red Stick against LSU, who, of course, is playing on the road at Texas A&M. And right now they're undefeated in this league. So if you're Alabama, you've still got a lot to play for. But the most important thing is just to focus on the opponent in front of you, play with intensity, play together, and then play complementary football, offensively, defensively, and the special teams. Cut down on those penalties. You've got to cut the penalties down because they just had way too many, not enough discipline right now. They've got to get back to playing Alabama football, and if they do, they'll beat Missouri because I think they're a better football team. I watched that game against Auburn. Wasn't supremely impressed with the Tigers. I think this is a game that Alabama should win, but will they? And we're going to find out what kind of leadership and backbone this team has coming up on Saturday.
Would you put any consideration into a kicking change? I believe Katie Wyndham of Bama Central brought it up and said that Graham Nicholson is one of 4, maybe one of 5 in kicks here at the University of Alabama. I know he was a Lou Groza Award winner at Miami of Ohio, but it's different kicking in the SEC. There's a difference kicking in Miami of Ohio in the MAC and then kicking in Neyland Stadium with 100,000 fans wanting nothing more than to watch you lose. Is there any consideration into a kicking change or at least something changing there in order to get Graham Nicholson's confidence back up?
I don't think so. He's 2 for 4. He's he went 1 for 2 over in Knoxville, but the miss was from 54 yards, and so all I'll say about that, it was short. But if Jalen Milroe had made the right read and hit the tight end who was wide open over the middle, that kick is likely a 46, 47-yard attempt, which is well within his range, and I think he would have made the kick. So, once again, the quarterback has to execute better. He did make about a 35-yarder later, which was right down the middle. And so he has limited range, in my opinion. I don't think he's a Will Reichert who is going to boom a 53, 54-yarder. But when you're talking about anything from 25 yards to 48, I think he's fine. He's just missed 2 long kicks, and they were both on line. The 54-yarder was a little short, but I think he's not the issue. I think the issue with this team, 90% of the issues are coming from the quarterback position. It's all about execution. I still say in these last 2 years, 75% of these sacks are on the quarterback for holding the ball too long. He's got to get the ball out of his hands. He's got to use his legs, use his mobility, use his God-given athleticism, and Alabama just has to execute. They got to throw and catch. They got to, stop getting penalties, putting themselves behind the chains and off schedule. I don't really think they need it's a kicker change. I think he's been solid enough. It's just been an unusual year where they haven't had to settle for a lot of field goals because they've been so explosive offensively. But what they really need is they need their QB1, their leader, to get back to being a great player as he was for most of last year and the beginning of this year. He needs to lead this team, and he needs to play winning football. And if he does, then Alabama's going to be fine.
Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone. Drew, take a second and plug everything else that you're doing, and we'll get you on out of here this afternoon. Thank you so much for helping me out and joining.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Again, give my regards to Ryan. Always enjoy being on Tide 109 with you guys and talking some ball. They can connect with me on Twitter at DrewD977ESPN or X, whatever the platform is called now. And certainly our station is at 977ESPN. Scott Tyson and I bring you talking ball Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. They can catch us there or at 977ESPN.com. And everything's on our SoundCloud page, 97.7 The Zone. And we look forward to some hoops coming to the Rocket City next Monday. Alabama going to be playing Memphis. That's going to be exciting. Certainly that beatdown of Wake Forest was great in Birmingham this past Friday. Number 2 team in the country right now, and they're not even fully healthy. So excited for Nate Oates and Alabama basketball, and certainly enjoy talking some ball with you here today. Thank you, Wyatt.
Thank you so much, Drew. We'll see you Monday in Huntsville, Alabama. That was Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone up in Huntsville, Alabama. We'll be in Huntsville on Monday night for Alabama and Memphis, the Rocket City Classic there. Let's go to break here. And when we come back, we'll reset. We'll get ready for the second half of the program. I know we were very guest heavy, really long with our guests here in the first half of the program. We are wide open. All right, no more guests from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. tonight. So if you guys want to get in on your phone calls, you can, 205-342-9904. It is score prediction day. What is your score for Alabama and Missouri this Saturday, 2:30 p.m. on ABC? We'll take your scores and more right here on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Big Mike's downtown Moundville, only about 15 minutes from where I'm located. Also in Gunnersville, Alabama, Thomasville, Andalusia, Auburn, Alabama, Orange Beach. You'll find one of the best steaks in the state of Alabama, voted by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association and many other great publications recognizing the great ribeye, the seafood entrees. You'll find those, the great service.
Shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham.
New Life Art is pleased to announce Daniel A. Moore's newest creation, The Legend, a tribute to Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time. A limited number of Coach Saban's autographs are available in this Coach Saban Fine Art Commemorative. Don't miss out on this exclusive opportunity.
Northport, just before Carroll Creek Baptist Church. Sponsored by Edmondson Deer Processing, Tuscaloosa Tractor, Irvin's, Paul's Feed and Seed, and Anders Hardware.
Pat's Florist and Gourmet Baskets in downtown Tuscaloosa, 1010 Queen City Avenue. For over 60 years, they've been serving our community. They specialize in a large inventory of fresh flowers, weddings, gourmet fruit baskets. If you're trying to lift someone's spirits, it is Pat's Florist Gourmet Baskets by calling 205-345-5093. Delivery options are available, but it's more than just flowers at Pat's Florist and Gourmet Baskets, 1010 Queen City Avenue.
Dell Rewards and expert support. When you get a Dell PC with AI, it gives back. Shop now at Dell.com/deals.
Nuke's Eatery, they're on the fringe of the campus of the University of Alabama, close enough that you can smell the championships. The Nuke's Q sandwich, still the number one sandwich across the franchise. The French dip sandwich, I think, is going to challenge for that number one spot. The double club, the single club, you can pair those up with a great sandwich, salad, California-style pizzas, all available for catering from a group of 5 to 500, a small office party to a large corporate event. Joel Bromfield, they've done a great job for my family. They'll do a great job.
It's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky's sunny. The high today 82. Clear tonight with the low at 56. Very warm tomorrow and Friday. Sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. Saturday partly to mostly sunny. The high 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 84 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Never miss a moment of the action. Download the free Tide 100.9 app today.
We're getting ready to wrap up the first half of the program here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports will reset. We'll take your phone calls here in the second half of the program from 4 o'clock until 6 p.m. We'll take you home. No more guests the rest of the way. Only your phone calls right here at 205-342-9904. And then at 6 p.m. when we get off the air, Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show will take over. Kalen DeBoer will be joined by freshman standout wide receiver Ryan Williams at 6:30 p.m. tonight. You can listen to that right here on Tide 100.9. We're going to go to break, and when we come back, Marty, I see ya. Pat, I see ya. We'll get to you guys right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Northport Power Equipment, largest inventory Husqvarna dealer in the Southeast. You'll find the Husqvarna models for residential and the professional landscapers, Skag commercial mowers, residential mowers, backpack blowers, handheld blowers, battery operated tools. The service department at Northport Power Equipment.
The Tide Tailgate Show on 95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230. Roll Tide.
El Grant is the great Mexican place in Winn-Dixie Shopping Center. Go over and see my friends Carlos, 205-391-4555, 62 McFarland Boulevard, Monday through Thursday from 11 until 9:30, Friday and Saturday 11 until 10:30, Sunday also open 11 until 9. You'll find the great daily lunch specials. You'll find great great entrees.
Starts at only $19,900. For the #1 selling Nissan Rogue SUV, we offer discounts up to $3,000. And yes, we have 2- and 4-wheel drives in stock. See BJ or Kylan at Townsend Nissan today.
MedCenterUrgentCare.com. We expect the unexpected. Locations in Tuscaloosa, Northport, North River, right there off Rice Mine Road, Fayette, Demopolis, Hoover. The great doctors, urgent care, family medicine, injuries, occupational health, sports physicals. We do expect the unexpected. MedCenterUrgentCare.
Take control of our future. Vote Republican. Paid for by the Tuscaloosa County Republican Party. P.O. Box 2643, Tuscaloosa, Alabama 35403.
Blue Spring Living Water is located in Bluntsville, Alabama, Blount County, about an hour north of Birmingham. Blue Spring Living Water is harvested and bottled from a centuries-old natural spring on a private family farm. Blue Spring is an all-natural water source that flows just under 1 million gallons a day. They have partnered with Waterway of Alabama, and they've been in the water delivery business for over 30 years. To have Blue Spring Living Water delivered right to your home, right to your front door every month. New customers get their 5 jugs for $50, and the empties are exchanged every month for new ones. I know we have it at the Fowler household. We drink more water because of BlueSpringLivingWater.com. You can sign up at 205-602-3426. Talk to someone directly. Blue Spring Living Water can also be found Mark's Mark, downtown Northport, Publix, Piggly Wiggly, and in the southern part of our listing area, Rouse's Supermarket. BlueSpringLivingWater.com.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Dan Beyer.
Tennessee Titans swung 2 deals today in the NFL. The first, they sent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs giving up a conditional 5th-round pick that could be a 4th as part of the deal. Titans also picking up some of Hopkins' salary for the remainder of the season. Titans then sent linebacker Ernest Jones IV to Seattle for linebacker Jerome Baker at a 4th-round pick. Titans are likely to start Mason Rudolph at quarterback against the Lions in Week 8. Will Levis still dealing with a shoulder injury. The Panthers are going to start Bryce Young at quarterback against the Broncos coming up on Sunday. That's because Andy Dalton has a sprained thumb, suffered the injury in a car accident yesterday. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels isn't practicing today because of his rib injury, while the Browns will start Jameis Winston at quarterback in Week 8 against the Ravens. The Houston Texans are signing free agent linebacker Devin White. Jets linebacker Hassan Reddick expected to play against the Patriots in Week 8 and make his season debut.
I got spirit, I got faith. I might bend, but I won't break. I'll fight the elements. And I'ma go down swinging.
A little bit of a tribute to Nate Oates and the Alabama basketball team. We are 13 days away from Alabama Crimson Tide basketball beginning its season at home inside Coleman Coliseum against the University of North Carolina at Asheville. Alabama will begin SEC play, I believe, on January 8th, if my memory serves correct. At home against the Oklahoma Sooners. I do know it's at home against the Oklahoma Sooners. The date is the one that I'm a little iffy on there. But regardless, Alabama basketball getting tipped off here in about 13 days. We'll have a really great Alabama basketball season. We'll provide you a ton of coverage of that right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. Alabama will head to Huntsville, Alabama for the Rocket City Classic next Monday against the Memphis. What is the Memphis mascot, Jaisha? Are they the Tigers as well? They're the Tigers as well, according to producer Jaisha Nance. Thank you so much, who's helping us out here a little bit. Jackson, of course, is also under the weather a little bit, so we've had to shuffle around producers for Ryan's show this week. I produced Monday. Jaisha produced yesterday and today. She'll do tomorrow as well, and then I will jump back in and get things finished off with the week on Friday, as we'll continue the SEC Parlay Pick Contest, as Ryan Fowler likes to do there. Presented by Brian Harden Construction. That is on Fridays. Today, however, we are doing our score prediction day for Alabama and Missouri. This weekend, the game will kick off at 2:30 p.m. Central Time right here inside Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday. Let's go ahead and head back to the phone lines here. Let's head to Marty in Arkansas. Marty, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well. That's fine. First of all, do you think when he misses Ryan Grubb as his offensive coordinator? And number two, because the one we got has never called no plays. And number two, we run really great when everything's script. Once we get off his script, like in the beginning, if we don't start off real well, we get a penalty 1st and 15 or 2nd and 20, we're off script, and then it don't seem like we know what we're running. But when we're running the first 10 scripts, it's like even that Tennessee game, all the way, the first script, we got all the way down to the 3-yard line, and I don't know why with the running backs we got it. I've always said you got the ball on the 3-yard line. If you can't gain a yard and a half and a yard and a half, you don't deserve to win. Try 4 times to gain 3 yards. If you don't gain it, you got them in bad field position, even if you don't get it to the half-yard line, and maybe you tackle them for a safety. But, I mean, it just seems like once we get off scripts, we don't have no, I don't know. I'm not no offensive coordinator, and I have never called plays. I watched a lot of football and go high school, and I talked to a lot of coaches and stuff. But, I mean, that's just to me, boy. You've been there. You watch the games and everything. And everything, like in the NFL, you watch the bad teams at the beginning. When they script the first 10 plays, they do really well. And then after that, against the better teams, they falter a little bit.
I do think Alabama does. I mean, every offense in the country, right? You love your script, right? Because that's your first 15 plays. You know them like the back of your hand. You've been working on them all week. And so the entirety of the script is oftentimes really, really good play calls. But at the same time, if something happens.
When a penalty happens on your first drive, we're 1st and 20, you're off of it. I mean, you can't stand, if you had running plays, it's hard to stay on script. That's all I was saying. Oh, Ryan, you might write it down for Josh, and that is, it's South Carolina's total passing yards.
South Carolina or Missouri's?
Missouri's total passing yards.
You're good. Did you get your score in yesterday?
No, I didn't. You couldn't get in yesterday. I'm going 28-14, 195.
28-14, 195 passing yards for the Missouri Tigers. I'm assuming you're picking Alabama to win that, correct?
Oh, yeah. I'm not jumping off my team like other people, and they're burning their stuff. I've liked them since 1966, and I've gone through the bad and the good, and I don't got many yards. I'm old. I enjoy every day, and I enjoy Alabama football. It's just, the ones that just jumped in, all they know is winning. I went through the Bows and a lot of them, and Ray Perkins tearing down everything, and when they went to Fire Bear Bryant in 68 and 69, or 69, 70, I can't remember. I'm old. But, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's almost like what Ryan says. Is it the school? Is it like when you have a substitute teacher and the other teacher gone and the class wants to play? I mean, are we not wanting to buy into, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, we played good and bad. Maybe we had too high of this team and we're so young, especially in the secondary. I mean, you just wait a couple of years and let these freshmen grow up. Even Ryan Williams, what can he do? Wait till he gets accumulated a lot better and all that, and the team does, and maybe he has to get his own quarterback. You don't want to lose the team, and maybe he can't bench Burrow. I don't know. I'm not at the locker room. I'm not there. I'm just saying, maybe Pence was his quarterback, the right quarterback at the right time. Maybe when he gets that SMU transfer in or gets the quarterback that he got from there, everything will work out. But I'm not giving up on this team. But, Ryan, why? We still going to need some help because 10-2 There's too many one-loss teams. We got to have some teams still lose, and we got to have LSU lose, and then we beat them. We got the tiebreaker. But if Tennessee doesn't lose again or doesn't lose 3 games, we don't have the tiebreaker against them to get into the playoffs. You know, the top 4 places are already took, and the 13th and the 12th place is going to be took by Boise State. There's only so much room. There's only so many slots left to fill. We got to take care of our business and not worry about playoffs. Let's just start playing Alabama football, beat Missouri, have the week off, get everybody healthy, or everybody that we can get healthy, and go down the Red Stick and come back with the winner and see where the chips fall.
I like it, Marty. I like it. We got your score in, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right. Yeah. Hey, you're doing a great job.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Hey, have a good rest of the day.
You as well, Marty. Have a great day there. Let's stick with the phone lines here. Let's talk with our good buddy Pat here in Tuscaloosa. Pat, how you doing today?
Man, I was hoping you was going to let me in with Drew because he's forgotten more about recruiting than all of the talking heads that Ryan has come into the show. Drew has forgot more. He's the host with the most from the Rocket City. Absolutely fantastic at recruiting. ESPN has no idea about what they have with Drew DeArmond. None. That he is absolutely the best when it comes to recruiting. But I wanted to ask him about Henry, our newest acquisition. I said, isn't that a awful word at recruiting? Acquisition. Let's just say that he wants to come to the university and play for the Script A. We'll go with that. But he's a number 1 defensive end recruit in the JUCO ranks and the number 2 overall JUCO player. So to add to the 2025 class, that should put us over the top. I think that's got us back up to where we ought to be and where we should always be as the number 1 recruiting class in the nation. What do you think?
Alabama is currently the number 1 recruiting class in the country. Not only did Henry's commitment help as well, but the tight end that committed just a couple of days ago, Marshall Pritchett, also helped Alabama raise that total just a little bit more to stay ahead of the second place team, who I want to say is Ohio State right now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it's going to be a really good pickup there for Alabama. Again, assuming all these commits stay, recruiting's so fickle. But if you go look underneath, this is how you can kind of tell, all right? And this is how a lot of people do it, too. Go look at the kids that these guys are following, right, on social media, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. All right, go look at like Marshall Pritchett, for example, right? He's following, Ty Haywood, Keelan Russell, Dijon Lee, Caleb Cunningham, other current Alabama commits, not just current Alabama commits, but guys who have been pursued by teams across the country, right? Keelan Russell was not really pursued by North Carolina, but he's being pursued by Colorado. Caleb Cunningham's got half the SEC knocking on his door, but he's sitting here following a bunch of Alabama recruits. And so it's a good sign when these kids are following staffers, students at the University of Alabama and stuff like that. You can't base it all off of who they're following on social media, but it is a little bit of a telling sign there. So you all right there, Pat?
Yeah, I got you. But, man, I just think this is just absolutely fabulous. So what Coach DeBoer has been able to do with this recruiting class at the university. Coach Saban has definitely, built a superior mousetrap. But excuse me, I'm sorry. Coach DeBoer has picked up the ball though and run with it.
He has.
I can't say enough.
Recruiting is going incredibly well for the University of Alabama. I would almost argue it's going better than any of us could have predicted.
Imagined it.
Right.
Way better than anybody could have imagined.
If I had told you on January 7th, because I think that's the day Nick Saban retired, right? January 7th at 4 p.m., the second that Chris Lowe tweet came out, if I had told you, hey, we're going to sit here a week before Halloween, Alabama's going to be 5-2 with the number 1 recruiting class in the country, would you have taken that in January?
Absolutely. See, And the thing, and that's just like the last caller. I know he was talking about me going with Tennessee, but I was the only one that went with Tennessee. Nobody else had the guts. Everybody in the country had Alabama losing at least 2 ball games. Nobody's had the guts to say which ball games it would be. And I went out on a limb because, hey, some things has got to change. I can see it with this coaching staff. Some things has got to change in order for us to continue to have a fantastic season that we can have. I've got us being undefeated the rest of the year because I've got confidence in Coach DeBoer that he's going to right this ship, but that we needed a wake-up call, and Tennessee was a wake-up call.
Tennessee may have been a little bit more than a wake-up call. They needed to wake up. They needed hey, look, get your crap together. Get it together, because you cannot continue this season the way that you were. So let's hope that Tennessee was the wake-up call that Alabama needed, because they've still got some tough games. Missouri's a top 25 opponent. If LSU defeats Texas A&M, will go into Death Valley against the top 10 LSU team. If they lose in Kyle Field against Texas A&M, that's still a top 15 program. So you're getting a top 15 matchup either way in Baton Rouge in 3 weeks.
Hey, do we have a time yet for LSU, or are they waiting to see what the results of this week is going to be?
They normally wait until 2 weeks before. We are still 3 weeks out. So Monday of the bye week, I think, is when we'll officially get the times for Alabama, LSU, and the rest of the November 2nd slate. Yeah. But I will say, that's I've never seen an Alabama LSU game that's not a night game when they play in Death Valley. I would anticipate that being a 6 o'clock kickoff.
Well, you do understand that they need all day long. They need all Friday night and all day Saturday in order to get drunk so that they can be able to cope with the loss that they're going to have, because LSU is Bryant Denny West. Since 05, go all the way back to the days of Johnny Musso. You go all the way back to 1970. Alabama's only lost down there a couple of times, if that many.
I think Alabama holds more wins in LSU in Death Valley than LSU's got in the series as a whole, or it may be tied now. But regardless, it's still, Alabama's got a lot of good stuff going on for them when it comes to playing in Death Valley. Kalen DeBoer hadn't done it yet, but you still got to think. But you still got to think that they'll have some success in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I'll let you go with this. That voodoo witch they got down there, Marie LeVay. Hey, she wears a script A on her witch's hat. Hey, have a blessed one. That's pretty good with Halloween coming up. So that's script day on the witch's hat. Hey, have a blessed day. Thank you, Wyatt, for taking my call.
Thank you so much for calling in, Pat. That was our good buddy Pat here in Tuscaloosa. I didn't even ask if he got his score prediction in. Dadgummit. Pat, if you didn't get your score prediction in, call back and we'll get you back in here in just a moment here. We're going to go ahead and go to break here. When we come back, we got one line available at 205-342-9904. Robert, I see ya. Bama Nick, I see ya. Ram, I see ya. J-Rob, we're coming to you guys right here next on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very happy Wednesday to you. We've pretty much got the typical slow and go traffic in the typical spots. McFarland, you'll find that in both the north or east and westbound lanes between Hargrove and University Boulevard. And do watch out for the construction work. Not too much of a delay.
And clearance sale at Townsend Nissan going on now. You can save thousands. See BJ or Kylan today at Townsend Nissan, your savings place.
Tuscaloosa Custom Curbing. Call Paul at 205-331-6823. Custom curbing for your home or business. Do away with those plastic individual stone borders. Go for that more permanent decorative concrete border. No more grass growing between those individual stones. Cleaner to etch to maintain. They're willing to travel, not just here in Tuscaloosa, but also in our neighboring states as well over in Mississippi. Many colors and choices. They'll customize for that individual taste and house. Give them a call at 205-331-6823. You could also go to their Facebook account. Find their page. You can see exactly what the videos. They came out, did a free quote. Paul gave me an evaluation. Give them a call, 205-331-6.
Remember M for money and Mesrano.
If it has a logo on it, call me, 205-800-8000.
The Paint Spot, Philip Williams, locally owned and operated since 1971. Quality paint, expert advice. Bigger, medium projects. I recommend renting the airless paint sprayer. Northport, right off McFarland Boulevard, right past Highway 43. 15th Street in Tuscaloosa, close to the Hardin's Bakery. 1971. Philip Williams, locally owned and operated. The Paint Spot, you'll find the quality paint, the expert advice if you're redoing
9 North and Northport, just before Carroll's Creek Baptist Church. Sponsored by Black Warrior Marine, Castaway Fish Co., Riverside Feed and Sea, and Adams Heating and Cooling.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky sunny. The high today 82. Clear tonight with the low at 56. Very warm tomorrow and Friday. Sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. Saturday partly to mostly sunny. The high 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 84 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Light up those phone lines on the game with Ryan Fowler. 205-342-9904. You're inside the game on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
I wanna make a change for once in my life.
Welcome back to the game with Wyatt Fulton filling in for Ryan Fowler. If you're just tuning in, Ryan's a little under the weather, so we're filling in for Ryan Fowler today on a Alabama-Missouri score prediction day. Your tiebreaker is Missouri total passing yards. I didn't even get Pat. So again, Pat in Tuscaloosa, if you didn't get your score in yesterday, give us a call at 205-342-9904, and we'll get you into the program here as soon as we can. But let's go ahead and head back to the phone lines here. Let's talk with Robert. Robert, how you doing today?
Hey, brother, how are you?
Doing all right. What's on your mind this afternoon?
What's your feeling for the game this Saturday?
This is a game that's going to tell us a lot about the Alabama Crimson Tide. I know we said that about South Carolina in a game that they did win, but this is a true back against the wall type of football game. All right. Alabama last season when they lost to Texas, backwards against the wall the rest of the year, they thrived, right? They had all the doubters, all the naysayers were saying Alabama's not going to make the college football playoff, and Alabama did make the college football playoff. And then everybody was picking Alabama to beat Michigan, and all of a sudden Alabama lost that football game. Alabama's right back in that same spot now that they were when they lost to Texas last year. Questions about Jalen Milroe, questions about him as a quarterback, questions about the offensive play calling, questions about the running game. Alabama's in just about the same spot a little bit later in the year and with 2 losses, but in the 12-team model, you can suffer a second loss. Alabama ranked number 15 in the country. They've got a chance still to be a top 12 team. Technically a top 11 team is what you have to be because the college football playoff gives the group of 5 an automatic bid. But it all starts with beating Missouri this weekend. Missouri's got a great set of receivers in Luther Burden and Theo Weiss. I think they're the best receiving duo in the country, not just the SEC, not just college, or in the entirety of college football here. And so it's going to be a tough test, especially for an Alabama secondary that's banged up. However, all that to say, I do think Alabama gets going back in the right direction, and the season is going to come down to what you do in Baton Rouge. I've got Alabama winning this game. The spread's currently 14 points. I don't know if I go that far, but at this point, the spread doesn't matter. Just win the football game, and I think Alabama does on Saturday.
Well, the spread, I think, is larger because Missouri's not that good of a road team. You know, they went to Texas A&M, got beat up pretty good. And Texas A&M in that game, I watched it. Really, I mean, they threw, but not as. They just pounded them with the run game.
They did.
So we'll see. Yes, Missouri is a good team, but I think their offense is better than South Carolina. But can we question Missouri's defense? Let's face it, South Carolina a very good front seven.
Phenomenal. I think they've got the best.
Probably
front
better
seven
in Tennessee.
I think they've got the best pass rushers in the SEC.
Yeah, so that's the key to the game, is probably just going to score points. And like I said, Missouri's defense not as strong as Carolina's, but their offense is better than Carolina. So we'll see. Might be a little bit of a shootout, but I thought the defense played good last week. They just got kind of gassed because offense wasn't doing nothing. And I think the offense has been challenged. I think they should be embarrassed how they performed last week. And I know there's some calls that didn't go our way and calls that should have been called, but that's football, and the SEC is going to have to correct that with officiating. We lost the game because the offense just lost it. That's all it boils down to. The game, as Gary Harris and Rodney Orr said last night on Tighter Insider, it's a game Alabama shouldn't have lost, but they lost. So deal with it and let's move on.
I said it earlier today. Tennessee made 6 plays offensively. Nico Iamaleava had the run with his legs to set up first and goal. Dylan Sampson scored the touchdown. The big throw down the right sideline over the top of Jalen Mbakwe, right? Dylan Sampson had a couple of big runs. He had the touchdown to Chris Brazzell Jr. to give Tennessee the lead. There's 5 plays right there. Tennessee made only 5-6 plays in this football game on the offensive side of the ball, and they were able to get it done. And so Alabama has got to counteract that. Alabama's got to be able to get things going offensively, and it all starts with Nick Sheridan and Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, we lost in the first half when we should have been up at least 17-0. But I knew I was in Tennessee last weekend. I was about 30 miles west of Nashville visiting my daughter, and I had told her, I said, we don't score no more than what we do in the first half. They're going to come back and win, and they did. So it was all on the offense, but it's a game maybe they're backed up. We'll see how they respond. If not, it's just another loss. That might be another long season, but I think the future looks bright. I'm sure they're not going to bell on the board. It's just one of those first season things, and it wasn't one of those they were expecting like a lot of fans. And we're going to win a national championship. You can't expect that out of no first-year coach because the culture change and offensive and defensive systems, and we'll see how it goes. I'll get off there. I think Bama Nick's coming up. Looking forward to hearing him. Y'all have a good day. Thank you for filling in, brother.
You got a score?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'll say 31-24 Bama.
31-24 Bama. Missouri total passing yards.
278.
278. Where are you calling us from, Robert?
Brookwood.
Robert in Brookwood. All righty. I got you written down here. I'll get this score to Ryan once I get off the air. Thank you so much for calling in, man.
Thank you, brother. Be good.
Have a great one. The number one caller, Bama Nick. Bama Nick, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Wyatt. How you doing?
Doing all right. Filling in for Ryan Fowler. I always love to talk with the best callers in the country.
Yeah, it's always a privilege when y'all get to talk to Bama Nick.
It is. It makes my day getting to talk to you, Bama Nick.
Yeah. Well, I sent Ryan a text. So, Ryan, what's Wyatt doing hosting your show today? What's wrong? He ain't responded back. You know, you said he was sick. I think he's probably at the airport picking up his wife. You remember she was on tour?
I do
doing
remember
a couple speaking engagements, one in Texas and one over in Boston, Massachusetts, somewhere he said last week. So I figured she got home about this time. He's probably home getting him something. What you think?
He's sick. He's sick after watching this Alabama performance on Saturday.
Yeah, I know it. He sent me a text Sunday. He said, Bama Nick, what do you recommend for a drink? I told him, get you some mezcal, tequila, and a beer chaser. That's the best thing I can tell you to do.
Hey, it's 5 o'clock.
That's what I do.
It's 5 o'clock where you are. It's about to be 5 o'clock here, so we may partake in a little bit there as well.
I've been pouring since about 1 o'clock.
Well, there you go. Hey, that's what we love to hear.
I still can't get over that loss Saturday. It was pitiful. Pitiful, Wyatt. Pitiful.
It was rough. There's no other way to put it. It was a bad loss.
Rough. And damn, I just couldn't believe it.
Let me ask you this, Bama Nick. Does losing to Tennessee or Vanderbilt hurt worse?
Tennessee hurts worse. Anytime you lose to the sucking-ass Big Orange, that sucks. No, that sucks.
So, but this was a game that a lot of people said Alabama could lose. Every single person, you could have been from the year 2026, and you'd have still predicted Alabama to beat Vanderbilt. and they didn't.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was saying. Who was it? Pat, a couple callers ago, Pat. And let me tell you something, Pat. Let me recommend something to you when you get on the air. Have you a puff of it hand and have you a shot of liquor and a beer. With that hack you got, that cough you got, you need to get a puffer and a shot of liquor and a beer chaser with that. That'll clear up that hacking and that lung crap. Damn, I thought I was going to have to call the ambulance, get over there and see Pat where he was hacking and Lord have mercy.
I was a little worried about him.
Yeah, I heard you talking Pat, you all right? You know, Pat, I don't know how old Pat is, but woo, he needs that puffer at hand. Keep that puffer on duty, Pat. Keep that puffer on duty.
Oh,
anyway,
Lord.
Getting back to that Vandy game. Yeah, that Vandy game sucked. Cause I told Ryan back in the summertime, I figured we'd lose 2 games probably this year, go 10-2. And I picked Tennessee and LSU as the 2 teams we'd probably lose to. I didn't have Vanderbilt in my mind.
Nobody did.
And what happened?
They go up, they put a stinker of a performance out there and lose to Vanderbilt.
God have mercy. And I blame it on that damn defense, White. That 4-2-5 or whatever Womack's playing, I told Fowler the other day, it just ain't going to make it.
The 4-2-5 is a interesting defensive scheme. It's not one that Alabama's ran before, and I think you can kind of see it.
Hell, nobody in the SEC runs it.
Yeah, you're right there. Nobody runs that.
Except
I think Kirby Smart runs a 3-3-5, which is about as close as you can get to a 4-2-5. And Alabama did make changes against Tennessee. They came out in a 3-3-5 type of defense, and then you got to a passing situation. You walk one of those linebackers down, and it turned into a 4-2-5 defense. So we'll see. We'll see if they can keep it going.
I just had to light me a cigarette. I was pausing there a second, but I had to light me up a cigarette. But, Pat, get the puffer. Get the puffer, Pat. Puffer.
You got to smoke cigarettes because we don't get any victory cigars this year.
I know it. Well, I smoke cigarettes all the time. I very seldom smoke a cigar. And tell Fowler when he comes back, is he coming back tomorrow? You think he'll be healed up tomorrow?
I think he'll be fine.
Well, I'll try to call him tonight. Give him my best.
He'll be all right. He's a resilient one. He'll be back in the saddle probably tomorrow, and then we'll keep things rocking and rolling here.
Because Friday when I call my parlay picks in, I'll be on the road. I'll have to call them from the highway.
Where you going? Are you coming to Tuscaloosa?
Hell no. I'm going to make some money. I'll be up in North Georgia and coming down to South Georgia. I'll be on Highway 41.
Okay, you got to watch out for that Georgia State Patrol now. They are something else.
Oh, I won't be driving, but I'll be riding and I'll be looking for them.
You're the lookout. You're the lookout.
Yes, sir. I'm the co-pilot. Kerry Moore, he does the driving.
I got you. What do you got? Do you have a score prediction? Did you get it in with Ryan yesterday?
No, I didn't. I was on the road yesterday. I didn't get a chance to get it in with him because I got back about 10 minutes left in the show, and I just listened to everybody else. I said, I'll call him today because I'm off today. So.
Well, let me get your score prediction.
Yeah, give me Bama. Give me Bama 27, Missouri 21.
27-21, Bama. Missouri total passing yards.
216.
216. I got you, Bama Nick. Thank you so much for calling in, man.
Oh, you're welcome, White. You have a great day.
Have a great one as well. We're going to go to break here. When we come back, we got 2 lines available, 205-342-9904. We'll continue taking your score predictions right here. Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Gonna make a difference. The year-end clearance sale at Townsend Nissan going on now. You can save thousands. See BJ or Kylan today at Townsend Nissan, your savings place.
New Life Art is pleased to announce Daniel A. Moore's newest creation, The Legend, a tribute to Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time. Celebrate his legendary 17 seasons and 6 national championships at the capstone with your own limited edition fine art commemorative print or canvas.
Home for Alabama basketball.
Presented in part by BMW of Tuscaloosa and by Pearl River Resort in Choctaw, Mississippi.
DanielMooreArt.com. Daniel Moore Art celebrates those special moments of Alabama football history like 4th and 31, Jalen Milroe connected with Isaiah Bond, or the legacy continues with all the great memories of Alabama Crimson Tide football. You can celebrate Coach Saban with a Nick Saban print, the limited edition canvas. You could also find many of the great mini prints. Celebrate that special Alabama fan in your life.
We thank you for trusting us to get you going for the past 39 years.
North Ford Auto Supply. Why go anywhere else?
The Pharmacy at Midtown with TJ Thomas, 205-752-0627, pharmacymidtown.com. Don't forget about the retail side of the Pharmacy at Midtown. It's an independent-owned pharmacy specializing in walk-in prescriptions, medicine on time packaging, which increases
a long game.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Stay up to date with the Crimson Tide. Local high school sports and Bama in the pros right here on Tide 100.9.
The Alabama Crimson Tide will take on the Missouri Tigers at 2:30 p.m. Central Time here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama on Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. You can listen to the game via the Crimson Tide Sports Network right here on Tide 100.9. You can listen to our pregame show, which will start, let's see. Crimson Tide Sports Network takes over 3 hours before the broadcast, or before the game kicks off. So they take over at 11:30. Part of our game day, all day package. You can start listening to Alabama football preview at 9:30, hosted right here by DC, Christian Miller, and Matt Coulter on Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTVC, and 95.3 The Bear. Then you can listen to the Alabama football broadcast beginning at 11:30 AM. Game kicks off at 2:30. Crimson Tide Sports Network will do their post-game shows until about 2 hours after the game. So these games normally run about 4 hours. So 6:30, you can listen to the Crimson Tide Sports Network until 8:30. And then at 8:30, Matt Coulter and myself will jump on the air and break down Alabama and Missouri all the way until 10:30 p.m. that night. Part of our game day all day package. And so we'll have a ton of fun on Saturday talking about Alabama versus Missouri inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. For now, let's head back to the phone lines here. Let's talk with Ram in McCalla. Ram, how you doing today?
Okay, White, I hope you're doing good. You're doing a good job, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I want to ask you something. I was so disappointed after the game. Did they storm the field?
They did. And they stormed the field, tore down the goalpost. I actually took a video standing about 5 yards behind the goalpost as they tore it down. Didn't have any clue where that thing was going, because it's such a big goalpost that I was a little worried that thing was going to swing by and I was going to have to duck or something, because they tore down the goalpost and I don't know where it ended up. They didn't document this one quite as much as they documented the last one. I got a feeling, though, that the goalpost from 2022's got a new friend down there at the bottom of the Tennessee River.
Probably so, right? That's why. Probably so. And another thing I wanted to get your opinion on, and you're pretty astute at studying the game. I thought Ryan Williams was going to get killed.
He took a lot of big shots, and the one that sticks out the most to me is the catch where he was in the air, and then the Tennessee defender comes up and just lays him out from behind. It looked like Ryan's back folded away that a back should not fold, and yet he just popped right up and kept on running.
Yeah, he sure did. He's got a lot of grit, I'll say that. But I thought after a while we would start going to somebody else. And, of course, Jalen wasn't on target very, very much. But I felt bad for Ryan. I just thought, for goodness sake. And Tennessee knew we were going to try to get the ball to him. And
They did, and he was still Alabama's leading receiver. 8 catches on 18 targets, 73 yards, 1 touchdown. But you got to think if Milroe's a little more on target, does that look like 12 catches, 150-something yards, and 2 touchdowns? Because there was one play where Jalen Milroe overthrew him when he was wide open. I mean, like just stark naked open. And Jalen Milroe overthrew it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. He sure did. And that's not like Jalen either to do on those long balls. But let me go ahead and give you my score. I know there's a bunch of people waiting to get in. And one other thing, White, I think you've got a bright future in this field.
Well, thank you.
Sports media, I think you do. Your show's really good, and you're natural at it. So keep it up.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I always say I've got the best job in the world. I get to go watch college football and then talk about it with all my best friends on the air for 2 hours after the game. And then I get to do it at least an hour a day every single week. So I could be digging ditches, but I'm not. I get to talk college football with the best fans in the world. So I appreciate it, Ram.
Well, you deserve it. I'm going to go 31-20.
31-20. I'm assuming Alabama.
Right. And I'm going 266 for Missouri passing.
31-20. Alabama wins. 266 passing yards for those Missouri Tigers, Ram. I got you. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you too, Wyatt.
Have a great day.
Take care, buddy.
You as well. That was Ram from McCalla here. Let's stick with the phone lines here. Let's talk with J-Rob in Montgomery. J-Rob, how you doing today?
Good afternoon, Roll Tide. Wyatt Fulton, how are you today?
I'm good, man. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Man, hold on. I got somebody come by on a motorcycle. I'm in the campground.
I got you.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Man, you have stepped up into the big leagues right now, son. Are you going to be able to handle this 4 hours and do yourself proud? You're doing so good so far. I want you to continue.
I've made it 2.5 hours. I've made it 2.5 hours thanks to a lot of great guests and a lot of great phone calls. So we'll see if I can keep going through the rest of the show.
Oh no! Hey, I ditto everything that Ram said. He echoed everything I think about you. I think that you're doing a great job. And man, you earn your money on Saturday, son. On game day, you are earning your money, man. You're the last one on the air, and you go and drive to all these away games, and then drive back. It's a thankless job, isn't it?
I don't know about thankless because I got guys like you, guys like Ram, guys like even Aaron Torres, who, says a lot of great stuff about me. Can't let it go to my head. Got to keep working. But, hey, like I said,
we mean it too.
It's one of the best jobs in the country. Like I said, I could be.
We mean it.
I've worked some pretty rough jobs. I say rough jobs. I've worked fast food. I've worked as a car mechanic before, and now I get to sit on my butt, watch football, talk about football, and go to some of the greatest environments in the country. So there's worse ways. There's worse ways to make a living.
Just like you said, you could be digging ditches, and that's exactly what when people complain about things. But man, I think you do a good job on your midday show. It could actually be 2 hours. You could probably bump Wimp and his son an hour in the morning, and move you up a little bit, and move up Gary. It'd be fine with me. It wouldn't bother me at all.
I like Wimp and Barry as well. They do a great job, especially we love Wimp and Barry during football season, but they earn their money come basketball season. They do a great job breaking down basketball. So I'm excited to hear their coverage of Alabama this season.
They're rough on Alabama. They are not. You can tell they are strictly down the line. They don't waver on either side or the other. But maybe Barry does. He may be a Barner. I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and give you a score because I know there's a ton of folks waiting to get in today and get those scores in. So I'm just going to get off. I'm going to give you 28 for Alabama, the good guys.
All righty.
To 17 for the losers.
28-17, Alabama over Missouri. Passing yards for Missouri.
217.
217. I got you, J-Rob. Thank you so much for calling in, man.
Hey, no problem, man. Anytime to help you out. You take care. And as always, roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Right back at you, J-Rob. We're going to go to break here. We got two lines available. Be sure to get in your score prediction, 205-342-9904. Today is the last day to get in your score prediction for Alabama and the Missouri Tigers. We'll take more of your phone calls right here. Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We've got some heavies in the area, and that, of course, is going to be on McFarland Boulevard on the east and westbound lanes to Lurleen Wallace. Lurleen Wallace, you got that long line of delays. This is the usual spot here on the northbound lanes at 20th Street, which backs you up to 5th Street. Now, we've got some road work in the area, but it is not
a place to be. Visit us now to save big and discover why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Dos Amigos, Highway 69 in the new Publix Shopping Center. 11 a.m. opening, 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday closing at 9, Sunday through Thursday. Some great Mexican cuisine, the great fajitas, the great desserts, the great lunch specials. You'll find it at Dos Amigos in the Publix Shopping Center on Highway 69. Takeout orders always.
Take control of our future. Vote Republican. Paid for by the Tuscaloosa County Republican Party, P.O. Box 2643, Tuscaloosa, Alabama 35403.
The game is powered by Tuscaloosa Toyota, TuscaloosaToyota.com. David DeSantis, the largest selection of new Toyotas in over 3 years, can be found on Skyline Boulevard, 3325 Skyline Boulevard. Also a nice inventory of pre-owned inventory. You can find the new Tundra, the 2024, the Tacoma two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. How about a new 4Runner, Highlander, RAV4, Camry, Corolla? For those outside of Tuscaloosa, saved money.
These changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky sunny. The high today 82. Clear tonight with the low at 56. Very warm tomorrow and Friday. Sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. Saturday partly to mostly sunny. The high 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 83 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
It's the longest running sports show in Tuscaloosa. You're listening to The Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9.
We talked with Drew DeArmond, 977 The Zone of ESPN. In Huntsville, Alabama at 3:30. He mentioned something interesting. He mentioned Keon Sabb playing through what ended up being classified as a broken foot by Greg McElroy, who was on the broadcast for Alabama and Tennessee. Drew mentioned that Keon Sabb may be out for the year with this injury. Kalen DeBoer said on Monday that he was going to miss significant time with a lower body injury. Here's what Kalen DeBoer had to say on Bray Hubbard, the backup safety, stepping in for Keon Sabb on Saturday against the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, Bray's been working hard for this opportunity, and he worked he not just last week, but every week he's worked to be ready, and we had no doubt that he would be come Saturday when he was called upon, and he'll go out there again this week, and our team really believes in him. He does a lot of things on special teams, and you can see it every day in practice, and so. He's been around the program, and now, this is that time, that next up, next man up mentality. That's what we talk about, and that's what it's got to be. And, I know, again, high level of want to that he has, and, I'm excited for his opportunity. I love Keon to death, and Keon's he's a warrior, man. I mean, there's more things I want to say about Keon and what he did to go out there and try to help our football team. But there's next man up mentality, and I'm excited for the opportunity that Bray has in front of him.
Bray Hubbard is going to be the starting safety for the Alabama Crimson Tide with the injury to Keon Sabb. And so Bray Hubbard's going to have a big test this weekend, taking on Theo Weiss Jr. and Luther Burden of the Missouri Tigers. But his work ethic, his attention to detail has been something that Alabama seemed to really like with Bray Hubbard, and we'll see if he'll be able to continue that and have a good performance on Saturday. We're going to go to break here, top of the hour. Got to pay some bills, and when we get back, we'll continue with the phone calls right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
And feet on the ground.
Just best quality to our customers. So we just look at it as, hey, basically, we're your kitchen. You're just coming to eat in your kitchen. Taco Casa, under the biggest cactus in town.
Rumsey Environmental, a one-stop shop serving West Alabama for all of your waste removal needs. If you're in the construction business, take a little bit of stress out of your life. The construction debris removal containers customized to fit your job site, the portable toilet service, the storage containers to protect your valuables. It's Rumsey Environmental for that complete waste removal service. When you have
FIFA World Cup 2026, supporting possibilities turned into achievements on the biggest stage. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America NA, member FDIC.
Alabama Credit Union with the official countdown to Alabama Crimson Tide football right here on the game, alabamacu.com. The mobile app saves a lot of time. The mobile deposits, checking, savings, mortgage, home equity loan, financing a vehicle, the great competitive rates. Alabama
108,000 or visit mezwins.com. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
For over 5 years in our community in downtown Northport under that Roll Tide Bridge, Mark's Mark, the home of the chicken swirl. You'll find that since 1978 in Selma, Alabama, for over 5 years in downtown Northport. If you want to dominate the grill today or any day, find Mark's Mark. A great stop by on your way home. If you're preparing for dinner, they've got a lot of those gourmet dishes that you can find, the great casseroles, the dips, the appetizers, the great steaks, the pork chops, the burgers, and all the supplies you need to dominate.
Shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Dan Beyer.
Tennessee Titans swung 2 deals today in the NFL. The first, they sent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs giving up a conditional 5th-round pick that could be a 4th as part of the deal. Titans also picking up some of Hopkins' salary for the remainder of the season. Titans then sent linebacker Ernest Jones IV to Seattle for linebacker Jerome Baker at a 4th-round pick. Titans are likely to start Mason Rudolph at quarterback against the Lions in Week 8. Will Levis still dealing with a shoulder injury. The Panthers are going to start Bryce Young at quarterback against the Broncos coming up on Sunday. That's because Andy Dalton has a sprained thumb, suffered the injury in a car accident yesterday. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels isn't practicing today because of his rib injury, while the Browns will start Jameis Winston at quarterback in Week 8 against the Ravens. The Houston Texans are signing free agent linebacker Devin White. Jets linebacker Hassan Reddick expected to play against the Patriots in Week 8 and make his season debut.
Rolling down a backwoods Tennessee byway.
Ryan knows these credentials off the top of his head. I don't know them quite as well, but I know Alabama's got 18 national titles, 30 SEC championships, 4 Heisman winners, and the 2 greatest head coaches, and the NCAA all-time leading scorer. Shout out Will Reichard. And the 2 greatest head coaches to ever walk the sideline, Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. From the Bear to the GOAT to DeBoer. That's where Alabama sits right now. Alabama 5-2, 2-2 in SEC play, number 15 in the country. Despite the lower ranking than normal, Alabama's goals are all still ahead of them this upcoming for the remainder of the season, and it all starts against the Missouri Tigers on Saturday. We do have one line available if you want to get in your score prediction, at 205-342-9904. We can get your score prediction for Alabama and Missouri. Today is the last day to get your score prediction for Alabama and Missouri. And I know Ryan does a good job making sure everybody gets squeezed in right there at the end of the show. I'm not quite as good as Ryan about that. So don't wait till the last second. Don't call in at 5:50 hoping that you'll get your score prediction in. Go ahead, call now. Make sure we'll get you in. Make sure we get your score prediction in, because I am not quite as good as Ryan Fowler about getting those score predictions in. So, one line available, 205-342-9904. Get your score prediction in, and we'll make sure we get you entered into the score prediction contest for Alabama and Missouri. If you win, Ryan, put your name in for, I believe, the grand prize package as well. You do get a little something for getting the score right, and the and the tiebreaker, which is the Missouri total passing yards. But your name is also entered into the grand prize package that Ryan will give out prior to the start of the Alabama Crimson Tide's 2025 season. So we're not just doing this for fun. You can win a little something with it as well. Let's head back to the phone lines here, and let's talk with Jackson. Jackson, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Wyatt. How are you?
Doing all right, man. You feeling any better?
I'm feeling better. I'm feeling a little better. I was able to kind of walk around a little more today without getting lightheaded, so I feel a lot better today.
That is a very positive sign. If y'all don't know, this is our regular producer for Ryan's show, Jackson. He's been out under the weather a little bit this week, but sounds like you're moving back into things. You're getting back in the rhythm. Obviously, you're out until Monday. Not expecting you to be back in the building tomorrow, but just making sure you're good to go, man. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Well, no, I just wanted to call in, give you my thoughts on the game from Saturday. I know we touched on it in the post-game show, but I mean, what do you, I guess I want to see what the grasp of the callers have been this week. Today, what have people been, what are their major gripes with the game?
Major gripes with the game have been the lack of a run ability for the Alabama running backs and Jalen Milroe as well. Jalen Milroe's poor performance against the Tennessee Volunteers, and a little bit on the defense, not a ton on the defense, but most of the blame has been on Jalen Milroe and Nick Sheridan for the poor performance against Tennessee.
I would back up that assessment. I think Milroe, clearly he has to play better. I mean, you can't be having these wide open throws miss. And Nick Sheridan's got to utilize Milroe's best ability, and I said this the other day, which is to not throw the ball 45 times a game. It's probably not a good idea to do that. Maybe we should run the ball a little more with Milroe through some design quarterback runs. Maybe that'll open up our running back run game a little bit, and even our passing game after that. So I'm not an offensive coordinator, but, I do play Madden, so that it does kind of work the same. I'm just kidding, but
hey, man, look, J.M. Miller's won a couple of Heismans for me in EA College Football 25, so maybe they just need to keep it going.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yes, he's a good back, so there's no excuse for why we can't run the ball with these backs. And they thought it was going to be a strength. We've got to figure a way to do that better.
They did. They anticipated this running game being a strength, not only Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, but also the running ability of Jalen Milroe. And it looks like since the first half of Georgia, we're now talking about 3.5 games. It really has not been there. You could argue it was there a little bit against Vanderbilt, but Alabama being down 13-0 by the fourth offensive snap of the game, they kind of had to abandon the run game a little bit. And ever since then, it just has not gotten back up to what Alabama wants it to be. If you're Nick Sheridan here, Jackson, how do you get the run game back in rhythm?
I think we got to have sustained drives. So that meaning these quick hits down the field where we're scoring in like 5 or 6 plays. That's great, and we love the points, and we need the points always. Yes, but that's also how you get behind in the time of possession game, and as well as not allowing your players to get in some sort of your running backs, that is, to get into some sort of or offensive lineman to get in some sort of a blocking and running rhythm. So I would say, maybe sustain these drives out a little longer. Maybe not as many deep shots down the field. We know we can take them. Take them when we can, yes, but, slowly move down not slow, but progressively move down the field efficiently to keep that time of possession going so we're not getting behind there like we did in South Carolina and Vanderbilt, which Missouri can very well easily do that to us again this weekend. So
they absolutely could. Shifting to the defense here a little bit, what were your thoughts on the defensive performance? First half, I would say they're lights out, but you give up 24 points in the second half. How would you evaluate this Alabama defense after Tennessee?
A lot better. We're making progress. This is what we want the entire team to be doing, is making progress. And the defense did that, I feel like, a lot better this game, especially getting pressure on the quarterback. Nico was under fire what felt like the entire first half, which was great to see because we were wanting to see that more. I will say we did kind of get bailed out in the secondary a couple of times when Nico overthrew those passes, but that's what the pressure does, so you're happy to see it in that case. But overall, I think the defense has gotten a lot better. You want to see them maybe in the secondary continue to get better. And from a tackling perspective, I think the entire team has to get better, period. But other than that, I think solid improvement. This game is not on the defense, no. It is definitely on the offense.
I would agree with that. And so what does Alabama need to do to be successful on Saturday against Missouri?
So, again, kind of touched on it, sustained drives, being able to push the ball down the field, pounding the rock when you need to, not when you have to. Running the ball, continuing to do that, and then defensively, they're on the right track, tackling a little better, but continuing to get that pressure like we saw at the end of the South Carolina game and continued into the Tennessee game. I think those two things we can get off right this weekend.
Do you have a score yet, or are you waiting until later in the week to give your score prediction?
I can give mine now. I think it's pretty settled on my score prediction for the day. I think I'll go Alabama 26, Missouri 18.
Alabama 26, Missouri 18. Jackson, thank you so much for calling in, man. Hope you continue to get to feel better soon.
I will. I am. I appreciate it, Wyatt. You're doing a great job today. Filling in for Ryan. I sounds like I may have gotten him sick.
It's all good. Hey, look, Gary Harris was out this morning too, so there may be a little something going on around here. So we'll definitely be using our Lysol wipes and some spray as well to make sure everything stays nice and clean so nobody else gets put on the injury report.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
We appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
Thank you, Wyatt. You too.
That was Jackson, our normal producer for Ryan Fowler's show. He's down for the count for a little bit this week, but he'll be back in the saddle next Monday. We're going to go to break here. When we come back, we do have two lines available if you want to get your score prediction in. I'm telling y'all right now, do not wait until 5:50 to call in and try and get your score prediction in. I am not good like Ryan about getting these guys off, or about, getting you guys in and out quickly enough to get your score predictions in. So let's make sure you call in early and you get your score predictions in before the end of the program. You're listening to The Game with Wyatt Fulton filling in for Ryan Fowler right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are moving with a purpose on the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. Not seeing any severe delays, but I do see rush to home delays. And you got those on Skyland Boulevard. It is typical in both the east and westbound lanes between Hargrove East Road and 359. 359 also has a
within 30 miles. And if they don't have what you need, they'll get it. Cypress Supply, 2036 62nd Avenue, Tuscaloosa. Cypress-supply.com.
Pat's Florist and Gourmet Baskets in downtown Tuscaloosa, 1010 Queen City Avenue for over 60 years. They've been serving our community They specialize in a large inventory of fresh flowers, weddings, gourmet fruit baskets. If you're trying to lift someone's spirits, it is Pat's Florist Gourmet Baskets by calling 205-345-5093. Delivery options are available, but it's more than just flowers at Pat's Florist and Gourmet Baskets, 1010 Queen City Avenue. If you're
reach areas, estimates are free by calling 205-799-9069. Expect quality exterior cleaning service for your home or business when you call Alabama Pro Wash.
Nuke's Eatery, they're on the fringe of the campus of the University of Alabama, close enough that you can smell the championships. The Nuke's Q sandwich, still the number one sandwich across the franchise. The French dip sandwich, I think, is going to challenge for that number one spot. The double club, the single club, you can pair those up with a great sandwich, salad, California-style pizzas, all available for catering from a group of 5 to 500, a small office party to a large corporate event. Joel Bromfield, they've done a great job for my family. They'll do
Gladiator, ride right into the holiday season in style. It's all treats and no tricks this month at Pearl River Resorts. Must be 21 or older to play.
Don Wallace CPA, 527 Main Avenue in downtown Northport. Small business and personal income taxes, payroll, sales tax needs. They can also help you with nonprofit or church accounting or auditing. In business since 1999, they work for you, not the IRS. When you take on taxes, you got to have someone on your side. It's Don Wallace CPA.
This is within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon. The sky sunny. The high today 82. Clear tonight with the low at 56. Very warm tomorrow and Friday. Sunny both days. Highs between 83 and 86. Saturday partly to mostly sunny. The high 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 82 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to the best sports talk show, breaking down the Crimson Tide, the game with Ryan Fowler on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
A little bit of news in the NFL. Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL, more specifically, Andy Dalton was involved in a car accident, I believe, yesterday. And so he will miss Sunday's game against the Denver Broncos, which means that the Carolina Panthers will start former first overall pick Bryce Young at quarterback for the first time since he was benched. When was he benched, Jaisha? Was it 2 or 3 weeks ago that Bryce Young was sent to the bench?
So we were far off. He was actually benched week 3, heading into week 3. Yeah, so he has set out quite some time, but he will make his return this Sunday.
He will make his return, like Jaisha said, to the starting lineup this Sunday against the Denver Broncos on the road against Denver. Hey, I know Bryce Young probably is not listening to this program, but if you are, Bryce, don't throw at Pat Surtain II. Just avoid that entire side of the field, and you'll be good to go, because Pat Surtain II is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. Speaking of Bama quarterbacks in the NFL, Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa returned to the practice field for the first time since week 2. He suffered a concussion after colliding with Bills safety Damar Hamlin in week 2 down there in Miami, Florida. He will return to the starting lineup this weekend as the Miami Dolphins take on the Arizona Cardinals this Sunday. Tagovailoa is coming back with a vengeance, hopefully. We'll see, as Tua's had a couple of scary injuries, but it sounds like he and his doctors kind of went through the process and said, hey, you're pretty much still okay to play. And so Tua Tagovailoa will return to the playing field this weekend against the Arizona Cardinals. Let's head back to the phone lines here. Let's talk with David. David, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing great, Wyatt. How about yourself today?
Doing all right. What's on your mind?
Well, I said I was just going to give them a score where some others could get in, and you're doing a great job there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Let me get your score real quick.
All right. It's going to be Bama 31, Mizzou 17, and 171 passing yards for the Mizzou quarterback.
Sounds like a plan. Where are you calling us from, David?
T-Town.
Right here in T-Town, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, one of the greatest cities in the state of Alabama, David. I got you written down.
You got that right. I
got you written down, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
Roll Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Right back at you, David. Let's stick with the phone lines here. Let's talk with Elias. Elias, how you doing today?
Roll Tide, how you doing?
Fantastic. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Real quick, I know people want to get their score. I want people to understand that the game of football is really not hard to coach. What we have gotten away from with our offense is using our strengths. I've been yelling this since last year. If we use Milroe to our strengths, we'll be an effective offense. And we did it last year. And what it led us to? The college football playoffs. We have gotten away from that. That's why the offense, if you have looked at the scores lately, been trending down because we have gotten away to try to make Milroe in the offense to what we're not strong at. If we get back to our strength, we'll be just fine. So, Tide fans, be patient. I know we're not used to this, but be patient. We're going to be just fine. Once Coach realizes our strengths and get back to that, we'll be just fine.
I agree. And even if Alabama doesn't, right, let's say worst case scenario happens, Alabama loses in Baton Rouge and Norman, Oklahoma, that would be 8-4. That is still the best record of a first-year head coach in Alabama history. So even if Alabama has a bad season in terms of Alabama standards, the future is bright here in Tuscaloosa. You just got to give them some time. And I think most Alabama fans are. There's this certain little section of, I don't want to call them irrational, but maybe spoiled fans where they, expect a national championship every year. And that's just not realistic in college football anymore.
And we also have to look at the fact that where is the team's enthusiasm of playing the game of football? It's young men out there that would love to be in their position to play the game of football. And it's like they're not excited to play ball at all. Ever since the Georgia game, it's like the morale has been down. So I don't know if something's going on behind the scenes that they're not talking about or discussing, but we got to get the morale back up with this team. And once that changes also, we'll see a different ball club.
I agree.
But everything got to get back to normal.
I completely agree. Let me get your score prediction real quick.
Yes, sir. I have Bama 35.
Bama
Mizzou
35.
20. Mizzou 24.
Mizzou 24. Passing yards for the Missouri Tigers.
228.
228 passing yards for Brady Cook. Maybe not necessarily Brady Cook because he is dealing with an injury, but the Missouri Tigers regardless. Elias, I got you down, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right, thank you, and Roll Tide.
Roll Tide right back at you. We still got time. Let's stick with the phone lines here. Let's talk with Mitchell. Mitchell, how you doing today?
What's going on, Wyatt, man? How you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm able to fill in for Ryan Fowler, talk with some great fans, had a couple of good guests earlier in this show, and I'm having a ton of fun doing it, man.
I have heard within the last 30 minutes or so that you're sitting in the hot seat, and from what I've heard, you're doing a fine job. So, like a lot of the callers said in the last 30 minutes, just keep it up and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate it. I say it every single time. I love my job. There's certain aspects of every job that's not great, and this job certainly has it as well. But at the end of the day, I get to sit up here, talk about college football, talk about college basketball, and go watch college football games. And that's how I make my living. That's how I pay my bills. There's definitely worse ways I could be doing that. And so I am grateful every single morning when I wake up for this job and this opportunity that I've got.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, just like Elias was alluding to, my thoughts is, this first year coach, we know what Nick Saban went his first year, 7-6, if anybody's forgot that. He's still the right man for the job. Jalen Milroe is still our starting quarterback, and still I'm behind that young man. Yes, he had a kind of a bad game, but let's just be patient and relax. All that's got to happen, we win out, and that includes that trip to Baton Rouge and that trip to Norman, Oklahoma, beat the odds in Mercer and Mizzou this weekend. We win out. We're 10-2. We don't necessarily go to the SEC championship game, and that may be a blessing or a benefit, because if you're 10-2, you go to the SEC championship game, and you should lose that game, and you'll be 9-3. Then you might not make the playoffs. But we benefit by not going and we get in as a 10th seed or whatever, and then we start getting to put it all together and win the whole thing, Then everybody's going to forget about Vanderbilt and Tennessee. I can assure you that.
Oh, absolutely. They would forget about Vanderbilt and Tennessee if this happens. But like I said, It starts with Missouri this weekend, and then you got a road trip to Baton Rouge November 9th. And that's going to be just as tough as Knoxville was.
Right. But we also have that off weekend prior to that. So
you do.
Maybe we can, find ourselves and get everybody, if they're dinged up or what have you, get everybody healthy and go from there. So let's go the Crimson Tide, 38.
All right.
The Mizzou Kitty Cats, 33.
Passing yards for the Kitty Cats.
And let's go 199.
199. Bama 38, Mizzou 33, 199 for the Missouri quarterback. Mitchell, thank you so much for calling in, man.
That's it. And memo to the Kitty Cat. This is business. This is personal. I'm sorry, but you're next. Roll Tide, Wyatt.
Right back at you, Mitchell. Thank you so much for calling in. We're going to go to break here. We got 2 lines available if you still want to get your score prediction in right before the end of the show. 205-342-9904 is the number. And we'll be right back here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
We are always running for the thrill of it, always pushing up the hill, searching for the thrill of it.
New Life Art is pleased to announce Daniel A. Moore's newest creation, The Legend, a tribute to Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time. A limited number of Coach Saban's autographs are available in this Coach Saban Fine Art Commemorative. Don't miss out on this exclusive opportunity.
Year-end clearance sale at Townsend Nissan going on now. You can save thousands. See BJ or Kylan today at Townsend Nissan, your savings place.
MedCenterUrgentCare.com. We expect the unexpected. Locations in Tuscaloosa, Northport, North River, right there off Rice Mine Road, Fayette, Demopolis, Hoover. The great doctors, urgent care, family medicine, injuries, occupational health, sports physicals. We do expect the unexpected. MedCenter.
Tide Tailgate Show on 95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230. Roll Tide.
Blue Spring Living Water is located in Bluntsville, Alabama, Blount County, about an hour north of Birmingham. Blue Spring Living Water is harvested and bottled from a centuries-old natural spring on a private family farm. Blue Spring is an all-natural water source that flows just under 1 million gallons a day. They have partnered with Waterway of Alabama, and they've been in the water delivery business for over 30 years to have Blue Spring Living Water delivered right to your home, right to your front door every month. New customers get their 5 jugs for $50, and the empties are exchanged every month for new ones. I know we have it at the Fowler household. We drink more water because of BlueSpringLivingWater.com. You can sign up at 205-602-3426. Talk to someone directly. Blue Spring Living Water can also be found. Mark Smart Air and the Future Repairs. No overtime charges on weekends and holidays. No hassle guarantee. Adams Heating and Cooling. 205-872-0045. Big Mike's downtown Moundville, only about 15 minutes from where I'm located. Also in Gunnersville, Alabama, Thomasville, Andalusia, Auburn, Alabama, Orange Beach. You'll find one of the best steaks in the state of Alabama, voted by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association and many other great publications recognizing the great ribeye, the seafood entrees. You'll find those, the great service.
Free shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham.
Did you miss any episode on Tide 100.9? Don't worry. All of our shows can be found on Spotify and Apple Music and on demand on the Tide 100.9 app.
Still got got some time in the program if you want to get your score predictions in at 205-342-9904. That is the number for the program. If you want to get your score predictions in, make sure you get it in before the end of the show, as today is the final day that we will take scores for Alabama and Missouri. If you're just now tuning in, I am filling in for Ryan Fowler. My name is Wyatt Fulton, the brand manager here at Tide 100.9, the digital managing editor for Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, and all 10 of our radio brand, all 10 of our websites. And then I'm also the promotions director here at Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, a man of many hats, and I enjoy every single thing that I do every single day right here on Tide 100.9. Let's head back to the phone lines here. Let's talk with Max. Max, how you doing today?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Doing all right, man. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Oh, man. Trying to talk myself off the ledge, I guess. I'm teetering back and forth. First of all, I want to tell you, man, you do a great job on your show and filling in for Ryan, the dude that called in earlier and said you got a future in this business. He wasn't lying, dude. You got a future in this business. You're great at it, and I appreciate what you do, and I enjoy listening to you. But dude, the guy that called in a minute ago and said that we got to play to Jalen's strengths, I think we have been playing to Jalen's strengths. I was at the South Carolina game in person, and I watched dudes running wide open, and Jalen Milroe throws it to a dude in the other with the other jersey, throws it right to it. He did it again last weekend against Tennessee. Something's going on with the kid. I don't know what it is. I hope he gets it worked out. But he's not throwing interceptions to where the defender just makes a great play. Hell, you don't have to make a great play. He's hitting you in the belly with it. I mean, what's going on, dude? Like, I don't know.
You make a good point. You make a very good point there, talking about, there were a couple of plays there where you're just looking at it and you're saying, Jalen, man, like I know you're the quarterback, and I know they probably know a lot more than they know a lot more than I do, but come on, dude. Even I could have told that was a bad throw. So I don't know what's going on with him, but hopefully they get it straightened out and they're able to have success this season.
I hope so too, man. Jalen's a good kid, man. He's a good dude, man, and he's a great athlete. And at my son's soccer game last night, a dude said something to me. He was like, man, maybe we should put him on the field, but not necessarily as the quarterback every play, and kind of blend that in. But here's the thing, with nowadays times, you saw what happened last year with Saban benching. The whole team quit on the rest of the team because Jalen wanted the quarterback. They get their damn feelings hurt. So if you put Ty Simpson in, everybody's going to get their damn feelings hurt, and they're going to quit. So it makes me wonder, is the mentality of this team a bunch of female cats, if you know what I'm saying?
I do. And part of that last season, I wonder, I wonder if it's the guy that they put in. So not necessarily Ty Simpson, not necessarily Jalen Milroe getting benched, but more so him getting benched for Tyler Buckner.
Buckner, yeah. If it had been Simpson, maybe they would have backed it. So let's see what happens, dude. Look, here's what I do know. Simpson can spin it. The boy can throw the football, man, and he's athletic. So maybe let's put in some wrinkles, put Jalen and him on the field at the same time. I don't know, I know for the past 2 weeks, Jalen has regressed.
He has. He's struggled a good bit, and it may just be a slump. At any point you can come out of a slump. So I'm not entirely sure, but they got to figure it out. They got a short window to figure this out.
Right, and I believe in him, and I believe in this football team, and I'll tell you something else. Everybody needs to get off Kalen DeBoer. I think he's a great coach. Just give him some time. It's going to take some time. It's a new system on both sides of the ball for everybody to get acclimated to. But, now this week is the time, because all of our dreams are still in front of us, right? The playoffs are still in front of us if we win out, right?
Absolutely.
So right the damn ship and let's go. Roll Tide.
I love it, Max. Let me get your score prediction.
34-10.
34-10. Good, guys. What you got for Missouri's passing yards?
186.
186. I got you, Max. Thank you so much for calling in, man.
Thank you, buddy.
That was Max there, I believe from Tupelo, Mississippi, calling us, helping us out there. Let's stick with the phone lines here. Let's talk with David in Cookeville, Tennessee. David, how you doing today?
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. What's on your mind this afternoon?
I've got a score of 35-27, and passing yards for Mizzou is 251. And I'd like to make one quick comment.
Absolutely, go for it.
I know that a lot of people's calling in saying it's the coaches. Some people calls in and say it's the players. Well, I've got news for everybody, and I hope Ryan Fowler's listening. We can do better. The coaches can do better. The players can do better. And the fans can do better.
I like it. I like it. It's almost never a one-person problem. If it is, it'd be very easy to fix. But all this stuff is always multiple people. And so I think the fans are included in that, David.
And the coaches and the players, they tried. I guarantee you they hurt more, just as bad as we did, and the loss this past Saturday. But hey, the season, one game at a time, one play at a time. And I've got confidence in this bunch. I've got confidence in the coaches. I got confidence in the players, and I've got confidence in our fans. And I really don't believe that all these people that's calling in Facebook is Bama fans. I think a lot of them is trolls. It's just trying to drag their program down. And nobody thinks, there's very few. I know some Bama fans think what I think. Hey, we can make the playoffs, and we can make a run. We can make a run. I ain't saying we're going to win it all, but I'm saying if they do their job and play by play and get better each week, and we can do it. I believe in them.
I believe in them, too. Tyler Booker said earlier this week, this roster's got the talent to win a national championship, but talent is nothing without production. And so they got to start to produce a little bit better on the field.
We all three, the coaches, the players, and the fans.
I agree, David. Man, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide right back at you. Let's stay right here before we head to our final break, and let's talk with Mary. Mary, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, Mary. What's on your mind this afternoon?
I just wanted to call and give my score real quick, and you were doing a great job for Ryan.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Ryan's a good buddy of mine. I've worked with him since I started interning here about October last year. So I've officially been at the company for about a year now. Not quite an employee for a year.
Wow.
That'll come around in December. But I've been around Tide 100.9 for a year now, and it's been one of the best years of my life. So I'm very appreciative of all the callers, everybody who's presented me with this opportunity. And you best believe I will continue to try my best to take advantage of it.
You are doing a great job.
Well, thank you. Let me get your score prediction.
Okay, I'm going to go 35 Alabama and 21 Mizzou.
35-21 Alabama. How many passing yards does Missouri have?
I'm going to say 182.
182 passing yards. Mary, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you, and Roll Tide.
Roll Tide right back at you. We're going to head to break here. When we come back, we got plenty of open lines here. If you want to get in your final score prediction, you got 15 minutes left to get your score prediction in for Alabama and Tennessee. 205-342-9904 is the number for that program. You can get that in right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Red light still very heavy on 69 northbound onto Skyland and 359 southbound lanes onto Skyland. You'll find yourself slow as well. Lurleen Wallace northbound at 20th Street. The usual heavies. That's going to cost you a solid all the way back to 15th Street and McFarland Boulevard.
Protect your phones, laptops, and more with electronic device insurance. And cover your furry friends with pet health insurance. Visit Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
El Grant is the great Mexican place in Winn-Dixie Shopping Center. Go over and see my friends Carlos, 205-391-4555, 62 McFarland Boulevard, Monday through Thursday, 11 until 9:30. Friday and Saturday, 11 until 10:30. Sunday, also open 11 until 9. You'll find the great daily lunch specials. You'll find great entrees, including the great fish.
Count on ZipRecruiter to find the right candidates for it. Try ZipRecruiter for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Northport Power Equipment, largest inventory Husqvarna dealer in the Southeast. You'll find the Husqvarna models for residential and the professional landscapers, Skag commercial mowers, residential mowers, backpack blowers, handheld blowers, battery operated tools. The service department at Northport Power Equipment.
For Alabama basketball. Presented in part by BMW of Tuscaloosa and by Pearl River Resort in Choctaw, Mississippi. The best breakdown of Alabama football in the state. The Game with Ryan Fowler on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Back as we get ready to wrap up the program here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Got about 7 minutes here. Let's head back to the phone lines here and let's talk with John. John, how you doing today?
Good. How you doing?
Doing all right. Where are you calling us from, John?
Tuscaloosa.
Right here in T-Town, one of the best cities in the state of Alabama. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Oh, just want to give my score prediction. I think Alabama will win the game 31-21. And Missouri passing yards 260. So I encourage fans to hang in there. Keep it up. Got to stay with them. I know it's tough right now, but got to stick with them, support them.
Absolutely. This team needs all the support that Alabama fans can give them. And if they win out, you're talking about a college football playoff team, John. And so all their goals are still ahead of them. They just got to capitalize on it.
That's right. They got to play smarter and eliminate the penalties. Of course, I know it starts with us, but we got to, it also starts this weekend, be 1-0 after this weekend. So,
absolutely, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yes, sir. Have a good day. Bye.
You as well. That was John right here in Tuscaloosa. We got a couple of phone calls coming in right here. Y'all are doing what I told you not to do. Now, we only got about 6.5 minutes left in the program. Let's go ahead and take him a little bit early. Let's talk with Ellis in Manchester, Tennessee. Ellis, how you doing today?
Just fine. How you doing, Wyatt?
Doing all right, man. Filling in for Ryan Fowler, having a ton of fun doing it. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Man, 4 hours. I mean, then you had an hour at your show today, so you're doing good, Wyatt. You're doing good.
I appreciate it, man. Let me get your score prediction.
Going to be 35-24.
35-24. I'm assuming you're picking Bama.
For sure.
And let me get you passing yards for Missouri.
I got a question. Who's going to be the quarterback?
As of right now, it is Brady Cook. Now, here in about an hour-ish, probably about an hour and 20 minutes, we'll get an injury report, and we'll see if Brady Cook is officially going to be playing. If it is not Brady Cook, it is backup quarterback Drew Pine.
Yeah, and he's not that good.
He struggled against Auburn big time.
Big time. Couldn't pass. Dadgummit. What's I need? But I'm going to say 225.
225. I got you, Ellis, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right, roll Tide.
Right back at you, Ellis. That was Ellis from Manchester, Tennessee. Let's stick right here in Tuscaloosa and talk with Brady. Brady, how you doing today?
Good, man. It's good to talk to you again.
Good talking with you. I know we talked a little bit on my show, but I always love talking with you guys. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Yeah, just got out of practice, heading to church now, so I encourage everybody to do the same.
There you go, man. Absolutely. What's your score prediction for Bama and Missouri?
Give me Alabama 34, Missouri 17.
And passing yards for Missouri?
Give me 255. I think we get some defensive stops, but they still have some pretty good numbers.
I like it. Bama wins with a 34-17 victory. I think a lot of people will be happy with how Alabama's going to head into Baton Rouge, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
See you, brother.
See ya. That was Brady here in Tuscaloosa. Let's end things here with, well, I guess not quite end things. We still got about 4 minutes left in the program. So if you guys want to get in, you got just a couple of minutes left. But as of right now, let's take Rocket Man. Rocket Man, how you doing today?
Hey, great. You?
Did we lose you?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, you cut out for a second there. My bad.
Yeah, no, you're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Kind of sound like Ryan, but anyway, 28-17 Bama.
28-17 Alabama. Passing yards for the Missouri Tigers.
I'm like the second previous caller. It depends on the quarterback, but I'm going to go 226 if it's Cook.
226 for those Missouri Tigers. And I think a 28-17 victory. A lot of Bama fans will be happy with that.
Yeah, I would. Sure would.
Thank you so much.
Real quick, what was the deal with Jalen Milroe's dad in the stands at Tennessee?
Tennessee fans were chirping a little bit too much at Jalen Milroe's dad, and he got a little frustrated with it. They were probably saying some things that, you probably shouldn't be saying to an individual, much less about his kid. And so he got a little fed up with it and had to put him in their place for a second.
Well, good. Roll Tide.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, all right. He had
to next caller.
Right, rocking right on, Rocket Man. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Have a great one. We got 2 minutes left in the program here. If you want to get in your score prediction, 205-342-9904. You got 2 minutes, and then we're done. We're done taking scores for Alabama and Missouri. If you don't get your score prediction in here in the next 2.5 minutes on Tide 100.9, moving through the SEC standings really quick from the bottom, from 16 to number 1, you've got Mississippi State at 1-6, 0-4 in SEC play. The Bulldogs are struggling mightily this season. They've played a lot of teams really tough, but regardless, not getting the outcomes that they want. Auburn Tigers 2-5, 0-4. I made a prediction at SEC Media Days in Dallas, Texas, that Hugh Freeze would end the season on the hot seat. I didn't realize that meant that he was going to be on the hot seat for the vast majority of the season here. Real quick, we got one more phone call. Shannon?
Hey.
How are you doing today?
Man, I'm all right. How about you?
Doing all right. What's on your mind this afternoon?
Well, man, I'm going to get my score prediction, but my thing is I hate it when we get down to the 5 and the 20-yard line. We want to start passing the ball instead of just running the ball. I know a lot of callers might have said the same thing, but I just don't know where that philosophy coming from.
I completely agree. You get down to the goal line, man, just man up and power through that football. That's just what it takes at this point.
I mean, you got a strong runner like Jalen, and you get turnaround. You got 2 strong guys in the back, and I don't understand about just going forward. I just don't get it.
I don't know. It may be play calling. It may be scheme. It may be that there's something wrong that they're not telling us. Not entirely sure, but I got about a minute here left, man. Let me get your score prediction.
Let me get say 32-17.
32-17 Bama. Passing yards for the Missouri Tigers.
Let me get I'd say about 206.
206. Where are you calling us from?
Tuscaloosa.
Oh, right here in T-Town. Beautiful. Hey, man, I really appreciate you calling in.
Hey, appreciate you for having me, man. Roll Tide.
Right back at you there. We remind you that we call this program The Game, and the only way to win the big game, the game of life, is to walk daily with your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you so much for Ryan Fowler for allowing me to step in and fill in for the last 4 hours. Coming up next, right here on Tide 100.9, stay tuned for Hey Coach beginning at 6 p.m. The Kalen DeBoer Show will get kicked off at 6:30. He will be joined by freshman standout wide receiver Ryan Williams. Roll Tide. Stay safe, everybody. Good night, T-Town.
And tell me everything. Thank you for listening.